What's going on,
sorry.
everyone? Welcome
I'm
to
going
the
to have to call protective services on Travis. He's getting more and more violent with himself to start these shows.
What? What's going on?
Oh my God, we didn't even get the intro done. Welcome to Bitcast 277. I'm your host, Ainsley Bowden, and Travis is getting so hyped for the show that he's beating himself up as the intro plays.
Oh God, I forgot you guys can see me when the camera's off. Oh God.
Oh, love it. Love it. I'm sitting here laughing as the intro music is playing. Oh man. What's going on, everyone? Good to be here. It is December 17th this morning, and this is our final Bitcast of 2023 as we're getting ready to take a couple weeks off after this. Been a very busy year, very tough year in a number of ways, but in terms of gaming, a very great year. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. Pretty casual show. We're going to be talking about a couple of reviews. Travis and Hogue can actually talk about Asgard's Wrath fully. We'll talk about his first ever 10 at IGN. I'm excited, Travis. A few other reviews, and then we're just going to have a casual conversation around just 2023, gaming in general, everything that's kind of gone on, things we want to see next year and in the future, stuff like that. And of course, we'll touch on Last of Us Online being canceled, which, you know, Hogue is just excited to talk about because it's another PlayStation thing, you know. But before we get there, let me introduce this lovely panel here. Mr. Self-abusive Travis, how we doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Guys, I'm not abusive. It's just, it's very early for me, and I have to get my energy levels up. Yeah. And so, you know, my theater days, I used to give myself a quick slap on the face and get my head in the game. And I do that before the show, and I forget you guys are watching sometimes. So I'll look insane. Dan, they're lying. Don't believe them because you can't see. I don't think.
I can't see anything.
Oh, yeah, don't worry.
There's some real force behind those hits.
Yeah, I'll record it from now on, Dan. Don't worry.
But yeah, I'm happy to be here. It was a great week. Finished up all my reviews for the year, and yeah, it's cool. Happy to be here.
Nice, nice. What shirt we got rocking today, Mr. Rodriguez?
Wicked Smart.
Wicked Smart.
Going full on
Boston, I presume.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, you have to when you go there, right? I mean, that's I just kind of you know, assimilate to whatever's going on there. Eat a lot of lobster, you know, and start talking with a weird accent. But yeah, it was great. Boston's awesome. It's been a while though, so but I'm here, ready to go.
Let's go. And of course, Mr. Hoglaw himself, with coming off a fresh holiday episode of Lawyers and Dragons.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun yesterday. We fought Frosty the Snow Golem. We had a lot of good times. If you're interested in any of that, I think it's one of our best episodes ever. Check it out on the channel. We do have it all holiday themed. There's a lot of references that our Game Master made to various holiday specials and whatnot. So I think you will enjoy it. We're all new characters, and it's a lot of fun. Now, Travis, I have to ask, as we all know on this panel and in chat, you had a stand-up comedy career. Is there some stand-up comedy location or show where you were backstage hitting yourself to get ready for going on?
Yes, almost every show. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
live audiences can be really, really intimidating. So yeah, I used to do stand-up in San Jose, Oakland, some places in San Francisco, and I could be seen giving myself a quick pick me up right before going on stage. So
hey, I like it.
Yeah. Get the blood flowing.
Super weird, dude.
Okay.
You come out with like
normal, bro,
faces and stuff, and just
you ever claim to be normal, my dude.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
I can't remember who taught me that.
No, not
Somebody
surprising.
taught me that. Somebody taught, like a person who teaches like performance stuff taught me to do that. They were like, just like, you know, hit yourself as hard as you can, and it'll just like give a shock to your system, get your adrenaline going. So I don't know.
But do you really hit yourself that hard though?
It looked pretty hard.
Yeah, but as hard as Travis can and as hard as I can are probably two different things. So.
I'm not trying to knock myself out, Dan. I'm trying to wake myself up.
Jeez, as hard as you can.
Dan's imagining that sport. You guys see that sport online?
Slumped in a chair.
That's what Dan does professionally, you know.
Yes,
By the way, someone asked in a comment Dan, that you don't talk about what you do professionally, and I think that's where we can go. Is that you're a professional slap boxer?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
that's what 100%.
That's right.
Those are the best. I mean, I will. Wow, you can bet on those. Do you know that? You just bring my.
I'm
parlay.
sure you know that.
You can bet on it.
He has a
like
problem.
How many? Like
he
how
has
many
a problem.
slaps
he
it's going to take for a guy to drop? It's hilarious. I've actually done it. I just watched it, and it was.
Can someone
hilarious.
please get Dan a hotline? He'll call right after the episode.
No. I'm good.
All right. We got a few things to jump to before we get started here. So, first things first, at 2:14 a.m., Don Lionheart sent us a super chat and said, "Let us know if you can see this, or let me know if you can see this."
If you see this when the stream starts, let me know for the future.
He's got plans. He's making plans, everyone. He's got a.
I don't know what Don was doing at 2:15 a.m. to make him think of Bitcast, but I appreciate you. You know,
thinking of us.
That counts.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah. Thank you, Don. We've got Debbie W coming in early this morning in the holiday spirit and gifting 5 memberships on both channels. So,
thank you, Debbie.
Thank you so much. That is fantastic. Always a big supporter. Thank you very much. Very generous. All right, let's catch up on the rest of these super chats before we get into it. Googleman.
Christmas Googleman. 9:45, still coming in before the show. With the €5, with 2023 wrapping up, what upcoming trends, titles, and technologies do you expect in 2024? Polished off, was that 750 grams of licorice?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how they measure things in Europe. Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Chiliganilla for the win. Is that a type of licorice? I have no idea, man.
I don't know.
I think he's just calling you out. I think we have to start calling you Chiliganilla.
That's fine. I'll get a shirt.
He's a fan, Dan. Chiliganilla for the win. Licorice is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Googleman, thank you so much. We're going to be talking about some of the things in 2024 we want to see, so we'll definitely cover that here shortly. Thank you as always. Fat Boy coming in early before the show too.
Yeah, with the £5. More Noon Brothers. Been a hot minute. Who's fighting who this week?
It's just a love fest.
To be seen.
Yeah, it's the holiday.
We never know.
Episode.
We're always surprised too by the alliances that are forged and the wars that are fought.
It's just gonna be Travis slapping himself for 2 hours.
Yeah,
there's a versus just on Travis's screen.
Put it right across his face.
Oh my God, Fat Boy, good to see you, brother. Thank you, Arctic Wolf.
Arctic Wolf for £5 as well. Hi, if you've been looking forward to a game for such a long time, but it got bad reviews, would you still buy it?
Depends on what the reviews said. You say bad reviews. What does that mean? It's broken. It's not fun, or it's just a 4 to somebody. Because sometimes when you read the review, you can say, "All right, this person cares about something I don't care about, and that's probably going to be more fun for me."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Context matters, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That's why you read the reviews instead of just looking at scores, especially if it's something that you're anticipating. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, if it's something where you were hoping it'd be good and then it turns out to be King Kong, then yeah, probably the reviews are going to save you some money there.
My rule is, if my brother's hyping it up, assume it's going to be terrible. He just has the worst luck.
Nice. What is he currently hyping up? I want to know.
He doesn't. For the most part, he doesn't use that power anymore because he got burned enough times.
He's playing the day before, right?
If he gets excited about something, just walk away.
Nice.
Wolf, thank you so much. Christopher Jetzer in the house.
Yeah, with the $10 super chat. Thank you, Christopher. Travis, I think I've encountered a bug possibly in Alan Wake 2. Do you remember how to charge?
I think it's Asgard's Wrath 2.
Or is that Asgard's Wrath 2? Okay.
It is, yeah.
This is why we can't use AW2.
Yeah, you got to drop that from now on. Do you remember how to charge the godly hammer? Basically, I get the chisel, but no matter what I do, I can't pick up the hammer. I'm stuck.
Yes. So I do know what part you're on. And I saw some other people in the Discord during the review period talking about this. And it turned out it was not a bug. There is another step you have to do. I think you have to spend some time as your non-godly form and do something before you pick up the hammer. But I can confirm that other people have also been confused by that part, and it turned out to not be a bug. It's just like a puzzle with a little trick to it. So, yeah, if you're still having trouble with it, I would maybe get out of God form for a little bit and run around, because I think there's somewhere else you can go, or something you can do, or something.
It's a good word for life, really. Get out of God form for a little bit.
Get out of God form for a little bit and try running around as a mortal. But yeah, I can confirm other people have talked about that, and I don't believe it is a bug. So yeah, some other people were talking about that. And if you're really having trouble with it, I can put you in touch with somebody who can help you out. So yeah,
cool.
The developers are extremely helpful in Discord in this game. So
cool. I thought I missed a whole section of Alan Wake 2, so this is good.
There you go.
Yeah.
You didn't get the godly hammer? I mean, come on.
I did not. There was no godly hammer in my place.
Well, the thing is, right? It's like Alan Wake 2 also hammers and Norse gods, so it's not exactly fully separate.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you for the super chat. Shout out to Midnight Drury, always very generous over here at SG, gifting a season gamer membership, which hilariously enough, I think went to Travis.
Yeah, it did.
He needs a membership.
Yeah. Now I can use my own emoji.
There you go. You're going to put ties everywhere.
Ties.
Jury, thank you so much. Fat Boy's back again.
Yeah, for another £2, the seasoned BDSM gaming channel. That's what we like to do here.
Why are you spoiling 2024? We talked about this in private, come on.
It was gonna be a lot of leather, like a lot.
And you guys already know my safe word, so this is perfect.
Oh my god.
We're gonna have to change it up now.
Fat Boy, thank you very much. Debbie.
And Debbie with the $5. My birthday was on Friday. Happy birthday, Debbie. So I give presents to others. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of the year. Sending love to all. Well, fantastic.
It's hard for me to believe we're at the end of the year, but yeah, I think we're gonna have a good one.
Yeah. Debbie, that's awesome. Happy birthday. Thank you. And yeah, same to you as well. We got a couple member comments as well.
Judy, you got this. Been a member for 13 months. Is that what that means? It's awesome.
Yep.
We've had a lot of loss this year as a family, but different kinds of gaming has helped us pull through. Thanks to all of you. Well, thank you.
I'm sorry to hear it, and I'm glad that gaming is around.
That's right.
Yes,
for sure, man.
Yeah, we a little plug real quick. So on SG, we have a thing on the header called Good in Gaming, and there's several articles on there about dealing with loss or escapism or injuries, all types of things with games, including a couple things we've done with what's her name, Rachel Cohort, who is a PhD in the area of believe it or not, like gaming research. So a lot of good stuff on there you may want to check out. I've written a couple things myself about how gaming has helped with loss. So yeah, just a heads up on that if you didn't know, Judy. But thank you. And Eleanor.
Very nice. Eleanor, member for 4 months. Thanks for a great year, guys. It was so much fun, and I'm looking forward to 2024. I wonder if that's changed since the leather comments. But have a great holidays wherever you celebrate. We will for sure.
Thank you, Eleanor. Eleanor, always make sure to comment on every show. It's awesome. Big support. So thank you so much, Eleanor.
Cool.
All right. Let's talk real quick before we jump into topics about our schedule. So I said at the top of the show, we're off the next 2 weeks. So we're taking, because of the way it's Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are both Sundays this year. So we're taking those 2 off. We will be back, whatever that following Sunday after the New Year. I haven't even looked at the days. The 7th. We'll be back the 7th. The 7th will be obviously talking about things coming in 2024, but we're also going to make that our questions episode, which I've talked about. So we've been saving up the questions we've been getting from all of you. I don't know how many we're up to now. But as I've said before, you can leave a comment, you can DM me, or you can go on the SG Discord. We have a channel set as Bitcast 50 questions or whatever it is, where you can leave questions for us to answer. So you got a few weeks to do that, obviously, over the holidays if you want us to answer anything. There you go. You can do that. And then the episode after that is when we're going to do the Season Gaming Honors 2023 episode, where, again, we'll cover normal stuff, but we're also going to do all of our picks for the various categories and things like that. So couple fun episodes when we get back in the new year. But before then, we're taking a little break. So,
yeah, and have a great holiday season to everybody. We'll miss you, but we definitely need the break too.
And Ames and I will cook for you.
That's true. Yeah, I was gonna mention that at the end, but week after Christmas, or the week of Christmas, because Christmas is a Monday. So that week, Travis and I are going to post our next cook-off where we're doing the Diablo cookbook this year. We have not picked our recipes yet, or at least I haven't. I don't know if you have. But we'll have some fun with it.
No preparation.
It should be some good laughs again. Hopefully, I don't catch my oven on fire a second time. We will see.
The oven's supposed to be on fire. Well, kind of. Yeah. It's the food you don't want to catch on fire.
All right, guys. Hit me with Asgard's Wrath 2. Travis, your first ever 10 at IGN. You have talked about a few games in the past, maybe getting 10s, but then you usually end up in 8 or 9 range. So why is this deserving of a 10?
Yeah, so a 10 at IGN means masterpiece. The idea is that these are games that are breaking new ground in some major ways, and that will most likely be examples for future titles and inspire game development in the future. Asgard's Wrath 2 is the first game I've reviewed at IGN that I think unquestionably meets that standard, which is to say that it breaks entirely new ground in the VR space. It's the first really successful open world RPG that solves all of the problems all the challenges that specific VR medium has, of giving you freedom and choice and cool RPG combat, and basically reimagining all of the stuff that you would expect in like a Legend of Zelda game. And I mean like the old school Legend of Zelda games, and just letting you loose on the world. It does that sort of very new thing, and just so happens to really knock it out of the park in all the stuff that it tries. Its combat is super fun. Its exploration is surprisingly deep. It's got lots of RPG mechanics, whether it's crafting weapons or recipes or food or going fishing or leveling up using your skill points to level up each of your 4 different mortal hero characters and your 5 companion characters that you recruit, and all that stuff. And it's got a decent story too, that you can get into. So yeah, it just, I think when VR became a thing, we all assumed that someday where there was going to be big RPGs that fulfilled everything we thought they were going to be in VR. And I think Asgard's Wrath currently, its sequel is the gold standard for what that could be like. And so Half-Life Alyx is the other game I've talked about as being like, if I had reviewed that game, 10 out of 10. And I think Half-Life Alyx is the gold standard for linear story-focused shooters, right? But it's a 8-hour game. It does one thing, keeps it kind of laser focused on that. And Asgard's Wrath is sort of the equivalent in the open world RPG space. And it's incredibly impressive. So yeah, if you've got a MetaQuest 2 or MetaQuest 3, highly recommend it. MetaQuest 3, it actually comes with that headset if you buy it before like the end of January or something like that. So definitely, if you're getting one of those for Christmas, highly recommend booting that thing up. But it's super cool, man. I put 91 hours into it before the review, and I've since gone back and played more of it, which really speaks for itself in terms of how cool that game is. It does some really cool things, man. I've just started to really dive into its completely optional roguelite mode as well, which comes packed in with the game as sort of just a side distraction to do. But you can spend a ton of time exploring that area, and you can carry rewards from that roguelite mode over to the main campaign. And you can set scores and leaderboards. It also has an asynchronous multiplayer component, like in a Dark Souls, where when you die, you can leave a spectral ghost of your character behind to either help other players or to attack them as sort of a mini boss, and you get rewarded based on how good they do. So if you decide to leave a vengeful ghost to attack the player, you'll get rewarded if that ghost kills other players. So it's got so much stuff in it, man. It's very surprising and cool. So yeah, it's my first 10 because I think it's pretty hard to argue that it's not a masterpiece. I mean, it blows everything that VR has accomplished, especially in this genre, out of the water. It's super fun all the way through, and it's also just impressive that it runs on a wireless headset, which is, I mean, it essentially it runs great, and it's essentially a phone strapped to your face, right? That's the Meta Quest 3's hardware. So it's just really impressive stuff, man. And I also reviewed another VR game this week, which was on the PSVR 2. And obviously games run a lot better on the PSVR 2 because they're hooked up to a console that's got some power behind it, but the cord kind of sucks still. I mean, if you're playing an action game where you have to spin around, using snap turning obviously solves that problem, but it's just a very different vibe when you're completely wireless and you can kind of spin in place and do combat dynamically as you're getting surrounded by lizard folks. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. And Hogue, I know you're playing it, so thoughts?
I am playing it. I can talk about it a little bit. I can't talk about it as fulsomely as Travis because I am in the first area in Egypt still. But I will say this. It is immersive God of War crossed with Legend of Zelda, like Ocarina of Time era. And if that sounds good to you, that's why I got a 10. That's why it is as interesting and as fun as it is. Its combat is good. It is challenging, certainly for someone with a somewhat iffy left arm, since the very first mortal character, at least, is left-handed-ish. They have two weapons, so you use them both, and the sword is on the left hand. But it's...
Oh, I moved it.
Well, I switch it from time to time, but I mean, we don't have to go into the details here, but the problem with the VR controllers for me is that pushing the joystick really pulls my index finger, and that tends to grab the sword back. So that's a Hogue problem. That is not likely to be a you problem. But it's challenging and fun in a way that VR usually just kind of hand waves at. So like the combat is real. You're really throwing the axe and calling it back like you're Kratos. You're really swinging the sword. The parry system is essentially an active swing at an attack coming in, and all with graphics that are pretty darn impressive, honestly. And I have to say, having played both the PSVR 2 and the Quest 3, I tend to like the visuals on the Quest 3 a little bit better. I suspect that's the lenses I like better, rather than like the raw polygonal power in the system. But I don't think there's as big of a difference as Sony would certainly like there to be with the PSVR 2 in terms of the experiences I'm having with the games. Probably because of the lenses, I would say. But the Quest 3 is great. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's going to take me way longer than Travis to get through this game. And if I have any disagreement with Travis at all, it's that my tendency as a VR player who really enjoys VR is to prefer VR toys, VR experiences, tactile experiences that are shortish. There's a super chat, Ains, that I know asked what VR games we would recommend. And one of the ones that I wanted to recommend, that I always recommend to everybody, is Job Simulator, which is a game from Alchemy. I like all their games. So Job Simulator, Vacation Simulator, and Cosmonious High. But all of those games really are very small toy box-like experiences that allow you to interact on a tactile basis with a VR environment that don't kind of immerse you in a 90-hour open world RPG. I'm still going to have to see how I feel about a gigantic VR experience, because honestly, I haven't really had one. I've had the closest thing that I can think of to that is the kind of conversions, your Resident Evils,
yeah.
That got converted into VR games that are longish, but a game that's solely built for that is remarkable, and I'm looking forward to immersing myself in it. But I can tell you, I only play it about an hour at a time because my arms get tired, honestly.
Yeah, it is actually physically demanding. And to address your first comment about combat being hard, I played it on the hardest difficulty the entire time. I actually haven't even tried the other difficulties, and it is legit hard. Like you will get surrounded by guys and they gang up on you with ranged weapons, and you're just like sweating it out, especially if you go into the roguelite mode where it's intentionally supposed to get harder and harder as you go. There's
By
some boss
comparison, I'm thinking of dialing it down to story mode. So there you
Yeah,
go. Something about Travis and Hogue.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fine, by the way, Hogue, because I mean, for you, it's kind of an extension of PT, and we were talking about that earlier this week. But yeah, I think it's good that it has that option because, as you said, like sometimes combat is kind of hand waved in VR games, and it's just sort of like swing the sword, and it's kind of got like a power fantasy vibe to it that I think Asgard's Wrath eschews. So I think that's pretty cool. And then in terms of the game being long, I also, when I was like 100-hour RPG, I was like, I don't know how this is going to be interesting for 100 hours. And the cool thing about that game is because you play a god possessing other mortals, every 15, 20 hours or so, they completely change the game by giving you a new character with entirely new feel to it. So after you've played for like 15 or 20 hours as the standard sword and shield character, suddenly they put you in a completely different character who is a river naiad who uses aquatic sea creatures as her arsenal. So she's got an octopus that's a harp and a bow, and she's got an eel wrapped around her arm with its tongue sticks out to be a sword, and she's got a little squid that she throws out, and it becomes a turret that destroys things. And like every time you think like, okay, I get this game, I know everything about it, they just like throw out the old rule book and give you a completely different character. And so it kind of just like keeps reinventing itself to the point where it feels like 4 completely different games. Like even after 3 characters, when you get to the end, you play a dead character who has all these like necrotic powers, and one of them is you have to learn to grab your own face. You rip off your own decapitated head and you throw it at things to possess them. And so you're like getting to this point where you're just like, bro, what is this game? Like, I just, they just do such a good job at completely changing the rules.
Yeah, and I think even within the one character, it's like when you first get that God mode, that's a completely different way of playing the game, right? So we talked about it earlier in this video. You have to get off of God mode for a minute. Is that these mortals can go back to your celestial form, and you get this kind of diorama view of the level where you solve puzzles from on high, and then you go back to possess the mortal and have them go through it. And it's really, really effective to keep things kind of different as you go through. And I think that's one of the things that Travis, at least in my experience with him, has tended to respond to very positively, which is this kind of continuing surprise and delight. And Asgard's Wrath seems to be very much on that. We're going to do something new and different that you weren't expecting, even shorter than 15 hours, every half hour or so. And that is very motivating to continue to play in VR until you're tired and you say, I need to sit down. And that's me. But, hey, I had a medical year. So we'll see how we do in the future.
And in fairness, I think most people are going to experience it more similar to how you are playing the game, Hogue, because the MetaQuest 3, for all of its virtues, has a pretty short battery life. I think without the extended battery, I think the most you can really get out of it is like 2.5 hours in Asgard's Wrath or something like that. I think I was getting on average like 3.5 with the Elite, strap with an extended battery in it. The only way I was able to just binge this game was because I owned 2 MetaQuest 3s, and I was hot swapping them and charging one and playing on the other, and then picking it up and carrying on from the other headset, which I do not think is. Yeah, it's dedication, but I don't think it's how it was intended to be played. I think most people will probably play this in small bites, and I just think the answer that Asgard's Wrath offers of how do you create an open world RPG in VR and keep that fresh is just make a whole bunch of kind of mini adventures in there that feel completely different, and then introduce mechanics as those adventures go on so that you keep feeling like you're doing new stuff. Cheeseworks asks, is Asgard's Wrath a system seller? For me, absolutely. I mean, if you're not in VR and you have to pick a headset, like I think it's really hard to argue that the MetaQuest 3 doesn't have the best games right now. It's got Asgard's Wrath 2 as an exclusive made by their now first-party studio, which they bought after the first Asgard's Wrath came out. And then it's got Assassin's Creed Nexus, which I think is a damn good game that came out this year. I mean, they seem to be the platform that is taking VR most seriously, whereas you see kind of like piecemeal investments from other companies, or in Xbox's case, none at all. And so, yeah, if you're going to get into it, I would say it's hard to argue against the MetaQuest 3. And I mean, for me, it's a system seller. Like I would, if I didn't already have a MetaQuest 3 and somebody told me about this game, I would want it. So yeah, I think so.
So we've gotten quite a few questions. We'll get the super chat because we kind of already tackled it, but we'll tackle it anyway. You're on mute, Dan.
I just said I was saying that while you were saying that. So I muted myself. 200 is the Krona again.
Yep.
I'm getting the MetaQuest 3, my first VR. Can you give me a couple of must-have game recommendations? Not Alan Wake 2 is on the list, and of course Beat Saber.
Beat Saber, yeah.
Beat Saber, yep, that was one that was actually prescribed to me for my physical therapy. Beat Saber is a great game. Asgard Wrath 2 is a great game, but I mean, understand that it is a big investment. It is. I don't anticipate basically ever seeing the end, but I'm having fun with it, and it's immediately more compelling. I know I'm going to get in trouble for even saying this. It's immediately more compelling than God of War Ragnarok. And I say that because you're dealing with Loki again. For those that don't know any of Asgard's Wrath, it's Loki is the big trickster god, and you're dealing with him as part of the plot. I won't say anymore. And so it has a lot of things that are similar to God of War. It's clearly kind of inspired by God of War a little bit, and you feel like you're in God of War to some important extent. But I enjoy it more than I enjoy Ragnarok, and we'll talk about Ragnarok, I think, as part of our conversations today.
Yeah, I've got
because we've got Valhalla to talk about.
I know a couple other people posted in chat too. Moss 1 and 2 are always big recommendations. Great games. Yeah, great games.
Yeah,
Pistol Whip is super.
To go with my recommendation of the toy experiences, which I really like in VR, I also like the diorama adventure games. So that's your Mosses. There's one called Down the Rabbit Hole that I like a lot. And these are the games where you're kind of sitting there watching events happen and you can control them with your joystick. So Moss, you're a little mouse. Down the Rabbit Hole, you're essentially an Alice figure in Wonderland. I like those a lot in VR as well. Those are things that have worked out. Asgard's Wrath 2 is kind of a new ball of wax.
Yeah. I also recommend I Expect You to Die, numbers 1 through 3.
All right, that's not nice.
If you're if you're into Star Wars, there's also Vader Immortal, which is a 3-part series that I recommend.
Pistol Whip's a blast.
Pistol Whip is S tier for sure. Great game. I think I've made
around mini golf if you want to just play mini golf.
Walkabout.
Walkabout. Sorry.
Great. Yeah. Great game. I think I've made a ton of recommendations for VR in the past, but there's what's that? Red Matter 1 and 2. Great games.
Nice. I did I forgot to tell you I did download Knock, the competitive
nice
Rocket League game with the bow and arrow. I was playing that last week. It was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that's a cool game. And then also you actually can play Half-Life Alyx on your MetaQuest. You just have to have a PC to
jump through some hoops.
Yeah, you got to jump through some hoops, but you can actually play it on your Quest, and you can play it wirelessly using Steam's got like a VR wireless link that can link to third-party headsets, and then also the MetaQuest has its own PC wireless link thing that you can use as well. So you have to have a PC to run at Half-Life Alyx on it, so that is a barrier. But if you have a PC available to you, that opens up a lot of doors certainly to other stuff you can play that is outside of the MetaQuest ecosystem. So
my number one recommendation continues to be Job Simulator. I like that as a entry point into VR and seeing what you like. It simulates multiple different jobs, so you get a lot of different toy spaces to interact with. And it's one of my favorites.
Sorry, I am bouncing through a bunch of different browsers here. So someone, thank you, Marvin, for the super chat. Appreciate you. Someone asked where Tide's picks were, and I said she didn't send any this morning. It turns out she did send some, but if you weren't aware, Twitter, X, whatever, notification system is pretty much completely broken at this point. So it's an absolute disaster. And so even searching my profile and searching my notifications, even though she tagged me, they don't show up. So it's kind of a disaster trying to keep up with things on that stupid platform nowadays. But I do have them here if I can find them. So Tide, shout out to you. We always like to cover these at the start of the show, but like I said, I didn't see them. We got the Christmas theme this morning, boys.
Nice.
Oh, sorry.
They
I get the headset.
They really went for a certain style with 3 out of 4 of these, and then I feel like Dan got put into, he was the artist was in a depressive mood for Dan.
That's Clark Griswold, man.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. He looks like Walter White during the holidays. It's a pretty good look for him. Good for him.
I like that behind Hogue. It is a bear, obviously, but I'm picturing it as the gingerbread man is back to haunt Travis for another week.
I'm glad that you guys enjoyed Gingy.
I forgot about that thing. Yeah, no, I'm looking like not a child. I've even got some facial hair. It looks like a chin strap, which is super weird. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm also holding coffee, it looks like, which is also not like me.
That's 100%.
Just assume latte. It's herbal tea.
Yeah.
I don't drink that either.
Yeah. The tie over the sweater. I like it.
Yeah, they really went for it there, didn't
they? Thank you, Tide. Sorry for missing that. Like I said, it just didn't show up at all. So sorry about that. But thank you as always.
I have what co-counsel calls, to my daughter's embarrassment, Hocho.
What?
That's hot chocolate.
Hocho. I've never heard that before.
I don't think anybody uses it except my wife.
Guess the Tide sent some alternate.
Tide's alternate picks are always fantastic too.
Hilarious. I just look like I'm unhinged. Why didn't she choose that one? We wonder. Why indeed.
Well, so Asgard's Wrath sounds amazing, so that's great. Thank you for that. I'll touch real quick on Ragnarok Valhalla. So this is the free expansion for God of War Ragnarok that released, announced at the Game Awards, released this week or last week. Alex reviewed it for us. I think the most surprising thing about this is I edited his review on Thursday or Friday was it seems like a lot of people are going into this, and if you read the reviews, it's completely not what was expected. So they sold this as a roguelite free mode, basically, that they added to Valhalla, which it is from his review. However, it's surprising a lot of people because it's apparently 8 to 10 to 12 hours long. It has cutscenes and story elements that tie not only to Ragnarok, but to prior God of Wars, all the way back to God of War 3 and Ascension. And he actually said that in his review that in many ways he prefers this experience to a lot of Ragnarok itself because it distills down the good parts of Ragnarok, which is like the combat and the storytelling to a degree, I guess, if you like that, and takes away the puzzles and kind of the meaningless walking around. So he really, really enjoyed this, gave it a very high score. And I saw that other sites are kind of doing the same. They're just kind of being blown away that this was a random free update that just kind of dropped. So cool. I haven't played it, but from our review and talking to Alex about it, it seems to be a lot more substantial than people were thinking it was going to be.
It is.
Which is cool. I mean, that's great. You love to see that.
Yeah, so I'm unclear as to what the business strategy of Sony is on this kind of thing, because it's significantly bigger than you would expect for a free DLC. And yet they're out there canceling other projects. Sony, I know I get a lot of crap online for not loving their business decisions this year and the last year, but I don't know how anybody can look at how they've been operating and say, yes, they're making wise choices. This seems like something you can sell pretty easily and continue to get good reviews. And I don't know why they didn't believe in it or they thought it was a good idea to put it out free.
I just appreciate the fact that you are arguing for free DLC to be paid. I think that's...
Yeah. I'm arguing for companies to know their value.
I know. It's just funny. That's all. It's just funny.
Yeah, no, I think it's great that it's a free DLC, and the fact that it gives players who maybe were a little bit
underwhelmed,
tested by the story's kind of pacing, to play a version of it where you can kind of get rid of that. Because I'll be honest, I still haven't finished that game. It's on my list of things to finish over the holiday, but like, yeah, I mean, I kind
How
of
far
stopped.
are you? Do you know?
I got to the part where I still don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah,
I'm playing
that's
as a
what
different character, and it's boring.
Well, I'll say
if
this.
it's the one I'm thinking of, you still got a ways to go.
I mean, there's
Oh,
several
I
different
got a
parts of that.
lot of ways to go, but
Yeah.
I can tell I'm not even close to done. But I'm like so bored. I mean, this is what happens in games where the pacing is slow. Is like I'm the type of guy where if I'm not getting paid to do it and you're not respecting my time, I'm out, dude. I just can't. I can't deal with it. And so God of War is like one of those games where it's just like, you know, every couple minutes it's like, oh, we love our writing, and I'm just like, dude, I'm out of here. I can't. So I do want to finish it though, just because it's one of those games everybody talks about all the time. So
I will say on Valhalla that it is more focused than Ragnarok, but it is still long-winded and self-serious. The cutscenes are still long, they're still overly written, and you better care about these people because otherwise you're not going to be super engaged. And it's a lot more storytelling and cutscenes than you would expect for what amounts to a kind of little Hades roguelike thing. There's a lot of talking and a lot of even remembering like what the heck happened at the end of Ragnarok, which is now a year old.
Oh
right?
no.
So it's an immediate.
So I have to beat the campaign first, is what you're telling me.
Yes. And it'll give you the warning before you try to start it because it starts immediately after and everybody talks to you about the choices made at the end of the game and etc. And I'm sitting there going like, all right, what was the last thing that character said that I am now being referenced as if it happened 2 minutes ago? And it took me a second to even bounce back in there. So if it goes back to God of War 3 or God of War original recipe or anything else, it'll really test me.
Yeah, Rick, who I know really enjoyed Ragnarok, we've talked about it, is agreeing. Basically, it goes way back. He said it absolutely should have been like $20 expansion. He's not complaining that it's free, of course, but yeah, it's got a lot in it.
Free is great. I just want developers to be able to feed their families. And I don't know that management is making good choices as to what they're spending money on and what they're not, and what they're looking for revenue from and what they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting reading that because I didn't plan on playing it. And then Alex reviewed it, and I like I said, I was editing it. And as I'm reading it and kind of going through it, I'm like, wow, this sounds pretty crazy. So that's cool. Dan, I know you were mixed on Ragnarok to a degree. You going back to this one?
No, maybe sometime. I have no. I mean, listen, I
it isn't like roguelites though, right?
That's true too.
That's true, but it's more like, I don't know. From what I've read, it's kind of just like the ending to this story, right? The last 2 games, I guess. And that's basically all I know about it.
Ties some things up.
Yeah, ties some stuff up, and kind of ends that season, I guess, of Kratos. So maybe he'll go somewhere else. I don't know. I have no interest in it right now. There's other games I can be playing.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more out there. I'll play another round of Baldur's Gate 3 before I do that.
Fair enough. Well, you have started, and we talked about this before the show, because I know when Starfield released and the 3, me, Travis, and Hogue were playing it, you were waiting, but you said you jumped into Starfield a couple weeks ago. You've got about 40 hours into it now.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I mean, it's weird. It's like nothing I expected but also kind of what I expected. It's not like really a Bethesda game, right? It's not what I'm used to, and I'm not talking about the bugs. I didn't really have a whole lot of them, but like with games like Skyrim and Fallout, this is different. It feels really, really empty, and there's a lot of I know it's space, but it's too much. They could have really consolidated, I think, that whole thing. I think they tried to go for this gigantic, you can go to the 1,000 planets and this. I don't think you really needed to do that because it's not. There's no real payoff for it. There's a lot of repeating side quests and stuff like that I don't really like, but I love the shipbuilding part. That's my favorite part.
Cool.
So far. I think it's super cool. It's really kind of a grind to get all the stuff you need and get to that point. I really, really dislike the fact that is so good and so well implemented. And then the actual fighting and like star battles like are so kind of boring in this little kind of they're all in orbit, right? Like, and they're not.
Yep.
It's super weird. They implemented the system that was really well done, and then they kind of used it for a lot of loading, a lot of weird screens and stuff. I don't understand that stuff, but I also got screwed over because I had to start over because I had like a bounty, and then I just didn't want to deal with like trying to forward progress the story. Like I couldn't get anywhere until I paid this stupid thing off, and I was like, that's pretty big. So I'm just gonna start over and not be a dickhead right off the bat. That went much better. Like
there you go.
I only wasted about 5 or 6 hours doing that, but I mean it's just weird. Like there's no like soul to that game. It's a soulless game, I guess. Like that's my biggest problem. Like Skyrim and Fallout, done by the same people, it has that like kind of you walk around, whatever it is, and there's stuff that kind of happens. There's things that kind of take your attention. There's other stuff like that. And it just doesn't have like an atmosphere that is that I'm used to with Bethesda games. And like I don't know, man. It's just there's something missing from it, and I'm gonna keep playing, and I'm gonna keep pushing, and keep going. But it's just kind of hollow at the moment, which sucks because this is my December game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you got a couple weeks before we come back, so I'll be interested to hear where you're at when we get back from the holiday, because I've got about 40 hours in it, and I want to go back to it at some time. And I've talked about really enjoying my time with it, but similar to you, feeling like I think when we did that question a few months ago, right? I said if I could have made any choice this year on a big game, it would have been that Starfield would have had maybe 3 to 5 planets that were fully fleshed out, big open world areas, rather than this kind of hopping to mostly barren places with a few cities spread throughout. It feels disjointed, I think is the word I use to me. That doesn't make it a bad game. I actually really enjoyed my time with it, and I want to go back to it. And I think, as with most of these games from Bethesda, it's probably only going to get better and better over time, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think so
I think this game will be played for years and years, like the rest of their catalog. But I wanted to ask you because there's such a huge dichotomy of opinions about Starfield. And it just feels like, there's people that are down here, there's people that are way up here, and everything in between. And I love talking to people about it, because I was talking to Wally, my buddy over at Nerd Chat, early in the week, and it's a 10 for him. It's like his favorite game of the year. He's got like hundreds of hours into it, absolutely adores it. And that's great, that's fantastic. And then you talk to other people, and it's like, man, I didn't dig Starfield at all, and they dropped after maybe like 20 hours. And it's such a huge kind of ambitious game in many ways. It just strikes very differently for people. So yeah,
I think they did too much, which sounds stupid, but there's a point where you don't have to keep pushing. I understand what they want to do. This is not Skyrim in space. I don't even know if they actually sold that, or if that was, more like media outlet stuff, but it's not that. It's I don't feel as connected as I'd like to everything that's going on, because there's so much of it, and it's just all over the place. I mean, even, I don't know, man. Like I've seen the same like outpost and done that same mission like probably 5 times. And it's the exact same outpost. Like I'm talking like I just went over here, and then it looks exactly the same. I don't know if it's got the same exact loot and stuff, but it's the same kind of thing. I've done several quests where it's just like, hey, go find this person and tell them, and do this, bring them back, or tell them that we're doing this. And I've done that over and over and over and over again. And they don't. It's not like I'm rolling in loot or anything. It's you don't get a whole bunch of there's not that thing like when you play like Red Dead Redemption 2, and I hate to compare the two, but I mean, like if something happens while you're riding your horse somewhere, it's just kind of like, oh, hey, look, this guy got bit by a snake. I'm gonna go suck out the poison, and later on you find him and he gives you a free gun. It's stuff like that. I haven't got a lot of that.
I think what you're describing, Dan, is something that I definitely experienced with that game, which is that there's a lack of sense of discovery because you're basically just fast traveling to all of the important stuff. And so there's not that moment where like you're kind of discovering things on the way. That's pretty rare in that game. And you kind of have to seek out. It feels like they put all of the like stuff that happens organically in a separate part of the game, which is all the planets that are not on the critical path. But when you do that alone, it just feels like you're wandering pointlessly, waiting for something cool to happen.
But that happened in Fallout. In Skyrim, though,
exactly.
You find another group of settlers, just randomly as you're going to your other place, traveling to Boston or whatever.
To that point, that's why I said I think it would have been better with 3 to 5 large,
something way
smaller
Outer Worlds
spaces.
Outer Worlds, I think, is a better example of exactly what we're talking about. Which is like because they made it so big, they lost some of that organic discovery stuff that people like, and there's still pockets of it. Like if you're in New Atlantis, you still get that sense of like discovery where you're like, oh, like stuff's happening, I'm encountering random like side quests and stuff, but it only happens in those critical path areas. And for me, it was like the first 10 hours was tough because I think that game just has like a really rough like intro, and then after that it was like 50 hours of awesome when you're doing like the main faction quests and you're doing the critical path and you're like getting into the really good meat. And then everything after that, it really has a margin of diminishing returns where it doesn't feel like a Skyrim or a Fallout where you can just keep playing and keep finding things to do. The drop off is steep, where to the point where you're just like, oh man, I've now played too much of this game and I'm not really liking it. And I don't know if you guys got the Xbox years in review this year, but Starfield was my second most played game on Xbox, which is where I play a lot of my games. Diablo, nice.
You'll never guess mine, so don't even try.
Halo Infinite was his number one game. My number one game was
too. And then,
do you guys know what my number one game was? It's a sad answer.
On the Xbox?
Yeah.
Destiny.
No. It is Destiny. Sad answer. It's a sad answer. And I didn't think it was going to be this year because I played so much of other games and I kind of didn't play Destiny at all. And then I forgot I reviewed Lightfall this year. I forgot that I did that because Lightfall did come out and I did have to put like 150 hours into that. So yeah. And I also did a guide for Destiny's raids and stuff this year. So yeah, I guess I played a lot of Destiny. But yeah, number 2, right behind that, it's like not very far ahead. Right behind that is Starfield, 227 hours, I think is what it said.
Dear Lord.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can agree with some of this. I really like Starfield. There's a couple of reasons that I like it a lot. One of which is tone, right? I really hate the Outer Worlds cynicism and kind of goofy satire of space exploration. Yeah, and that works better for Travis. So if you like that more, absolutely.
Libertarianism in space. Let's go.
Starfield is closer to a kind of Star Trek utopia kind of explorers out there, and especially the faction that you join, Constellation, is just exploring for the sake of it when you start the game. And that's not terribly compelling as a kind of impetus to start missions, but I think it is a fun place to be in a universe I like to explore. And I think that there is more out there in the dark of space than maybe Travis and to some extent Dan are giving it credit for, which is that missions do pop up. There are pirates and there are AI ships and there are things that happen when you're out there. And I also think that the job system, which you need to keep resources, is designed to kind of ping you to places that are good for outposts or that have interesting stories or that are cities that you might not have otherwise found in a way that gets you to places that are more likely to have some of that kind of organic storytelling sandbox feel. Is that perfect? No. And I think that's what people react to, which is that a lot of the game is hold X to light speed warp and hold X to land and all this thing, where it could have been, I think, with a little bit better tech, a more organic feeling experience, more feeling like you're flying into these places and No Man's Sky. And I think that would do a lot to help it. It doesn't bother me because I'm always kind of playing video games as a stage play, right? It's always magic tricks and behind the scenes things that are happening. So I can accept load screens and, oh, now I'm around this planet and there's a pirate fight and I can fight it and it's in this small arena and that's fine. But I think people react to what they wanted was a broader feeling game. And I love how much story and character is seemingly around every corner in the Starfield universe. Yes, you have New Atlantis, which has I don't even know how many quests, but then you can go to a random planet in the Sol system, and you jump upon a Colonial Williamsburg type space base, and you have a whole bunch of stuff happen there that you weren't expecting. And I love that. Like it feels like you can stumble into not just a cowboy on the side of the road, but like a whole Bethesda area with a whole set of quests. And all these planets have what I think of as kind of world quests that take you to different places and help change some significant factor on the planets themselves. I enjoy all of that. Now, I haven't gotten to the end point, Travis, where you say like things fall off. I don't know. But to me, a Bethesda game, you talk about Skyrim, the beauty is in finding the shiny thing and going into that cave and discovering a story about monks trying to summon a dragon or whatever, and not the main quest or the plot line, because Skyrim, I couldn't tell you if you paid me money right now what happens in Skyrim on the main quest.
I can.
The story's not good. It's not good.
I can explain it in great detail.
Probably with the DLC.
What's up, guys? Elder Scrolls Lore Master here. Welcome to my show.
It's your boy Travis talking.
It's
Skyrim.
your boy. Get ready, guys. We're gonna talk about the Devourer of Worlds.
Yes, let's talk about the dreamscape. Let's talk about Nern. Let's go,
dude. We're gonna talk about the plane of Nern, dude. You guys don't even understand, homie.
Let me get this super chat from Green Thumbs here, talking on our topic.
Green Thumbs. I know a lot of people don't connect with Starfield, but I love it in particular. I love Inzur's score.
Inzur, yeah.
Okay, whatever. The NASA Punk art direction and the sound design. It's my favorite game of this year. That's fine.
I really do love the music and the art.
Yeah, I mean,
the design is great, no doubt.
Yeah, and I don't know that anybody here is arguing that it's a bad game. Like to me, it is like a 7 out of 10, right? Maybe an 8 out of 10.
Oh boy.
And I think that is a completely, like we were talking about this, about what was the other game that you were playing, Hogue, last week?
Cyberpunk.
Was it Cyberpunk? No, it was something where we were saying 7 out of 10, time well spent. You know, we were making that argument. Avatar. Thank you.
Lords
Exactly.
of the Fallen.
It kind of reminds me of Lords of the Fallen or Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, where it's like, look, it doesn't break ground or do anything that like completely blew me away, but it does enough stuff well to where it's like it's fun. You can play through it. I think that it has a lot of flaws, and I don't think that it got anywhere near to the like explosive expectations of like this is the greatest RPG ever made, which is what Microsoft themselves were saying before launching the game.
Is it time for me to talk about Elden Ring?
Which I think was a mistake. Yeah,
RPGs,
the marketing
RPGs.
RPG.
Elden
well,
Ring?
It is an RPG. Yeah.
No.
Come on, we're not.
See, nobody can agree on the definition of an RPG, and it kills me, man. It kills me. It's a JRPG according to their own
in
company.
Japan.
That's what they called it, a JRPG.
I don't know what to tell you guys. I like Starfield. I'm probably an 8 and not a 7, but I
think an
also
8
give a lot of
8 is a totally fine score. I'm confused by the 9s and 10s. I'm like,
I mean, I think you could really connect with the universe and the storytelling to pop to a 9. To me, the issues are that the fighting isn't punchy enough. You go between Starfield and Cyberpunk, and you see a vast difference in how the combat feels at this point in Cyberpunk 2.1.
I said that like a few months ago, by the way.
Yeah, well, it's the truth. If you bounce between those games, you're like, oh, right, like that's gunplay. And then you go back to Starfield, and you're like, well, that's kind of a laser pointer, and then the pirates fall down, which is fine. But it's not super compelling. I don't really need compelling combat as a like necessary ingredient to my RPG, but they're certainly better if they have it.
And why put it in? No, I mean, if you're gonna do it, then do it right.
No combat is your suggestion?
I mean,
Dan's right. I mean, but they did their best. I don't think that they deliberately had it be less punchy than Cyberpunk and not as effective as other shooters. I just think that's where it wound up, and I think that's a justifiable reason to say, well, that's not as high a score that I would like. I also think that they had trouble with the user interface and the clunkiness of the colony building and the shipbuilding. I'm glad that you really connected with it, Dan. It is freaking hard. I feel like I need to take a course.
I love the shipbuilding, but you do have to learn it. You have to take like a Excel course. Did you watch my guide, Dan?
I did. I sure did.
Yeah,
that's why you like it. I have to watch Travis's guide.
I did all the work for him. It is frustrating to learn, but like once you learn it, you're like, this is pretty good. I kind of dig it. It's nice.
Yeah.
See, and this is nothing against Travis. I don't like guides. I don't like the concept of having to need outside material to work with your game.
No one likes guides. You know what I mean? Guides are a necessary evil, but it sucks that they have to exist. And usually it's a shortcoming of like game design or explaining how your game works. And yeah, it's not great if you need them.
So while I was playing Starfield,
thank you, Green Thumbs, for the super chat, by the way.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
I like Starfield a lot.
As
long as we're adding to my pile of things that I can get yelled at for in this episode, I like Starfield a lot.
Yeah, don't do it. I played. I've been playing Everspace 2, kind of.
Oh, okay.
Here and there, came out this year. So I've been playing it side by side, and I finished it the other day. It's probably top 5 this year for me now. It's such a fun game. Like I love space combat. That's my biggest, one of my favorite, genres is that like Free Space or Free Space 2, those old games.
Embrace your closing the Chorus studio made me unhappy.
Yeah. With X-Wings, TIE Fighter.
Did you say Corvus?
Yeah. And I love that people pronounce it that way when they read it. And I'm like, play this.
You guys are tagging in constantly here.
Chorus. Oh, you're talking about that? Yeah, that one was fun too. That game was fun too. I know what you're talking about. But
Ames is just mad at us talking over each other and
making things up. You're gonna do. But it's kind of got you might like it, Ames. I don't know how much you like space battle games. It's got kind of some ARPG elements, some Diablo-like stuff, a little bit Division stuff. You got to mix and match your systems, different loot levels.
I don't know Everspace 2, Dan, because I haven't played it much, but Everspace 1 was a straight up roguelike.
Is Everspace 2 not? This is more of a hub, open world hub, kind of like there's several different systems in this world that they have, and it's story driven, kind of random events happening, a few side quests. It's not very, there's not a ton to it. It's not very big, so it's a really easily taken in game if you like that kind of game, which I do. So
I do. Bring back Colony Wars, Sony. Colony Wars. Bring it back.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what Colony Wars is. I don't know if I've ever played Colony Wars.
Will you take Last of Us 3 instead?
I will not.
Instead of Colony Wars? No.
What about Last of Us 2 again?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you said Hogue, do you want Last of Us Part 2 remastered or Colony Wars remake? I mean, it's the easiest choice I could possibly make.
Obviously, Last of Us 2 remastered.
Yes.
That's how Hogue rolls.
Yeah.
Of course.
I zig when you think I'll zag.
Look, Hogue just he's really unclear, and I think he's made this apparent on many episodes of Bitcast. He's not sure if revenge is a good idea. And he wants to play a game that will say definitively it'll take a stance on whether or not you should seek revenge on those.
It's not that I have a problem that Last of Us Part 2 takes a stance on revenge. It's that I have a problem that it thinks it's taking a stance no one could have thought about before and feels like it's very important to pat itself on the back for revenge.
Hard agree.
This is true. This is true. No game or really any media has talked about revenge really at all. I think it's probably a completely new evergreen topic. And I think they knocked it out of the park, guys.
So Everspace 2, sorry, Dan.
Go play.
Came out in 2020. I was just looking up. Came out in 2021 originally, but was ported PS5, Xbox Series back in August. So you said space shooter, but then you said Diablo and Division. I'm confused.
It's got some loot, like you've got different weapons, different engine. You get your shield, your engine, your boosters, all that other stuff, and you can, you basically get you get loot. And some of them, like I remember how the Division 2 had like the different sets where you can get it was all this. Yeah, it's got the same kind of deal where you can match sets. You can craft your own sets.
But you're doing that for your ship?
Yes, for your ship. Totally upgradable. Oh. There's like 7 different kinds of ships. There's bombers and fighters and the little scout ships, and you can buy as many as you want, assuming you have the money, which doesn't come easy.
Okay.
The story is not good. It's really, really it's just there to kind of push you through. and it's not great, not great acting. But I think I recognize the actress that plays Rogue from Cyberpunk 2 as one of the.
Okay.
But I can't put my finger on it. It's either that or the girl from Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Bowman. I don't know. Sound all familiar to me. But the rest of it's pretty much the story is not good. It's not good. So don't expect anything fantastic there. But it will get you from point A to point Z at the end of the game, and that's about it. So
okay.
But super
it looks
fun.
Pretty cool. I'm looking it up as you're talking. It's also on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass. Yeah, go play it. It's free for you guys.
Free.
It is no additional cost.
No additional cost. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Get on there.
Cool. Very cool. I remember seeing a picture of this now. I just didn't know what the hell it was.
Yeah, they're good company. And yeah, as far as story and acting goes, at least with Everspace 1, if you're familiar with PC gaming, it is that kind of PC gaming, indie gaming, voice acting and storytelling.
Yes.
Motion comics were the first one. I think they've upgraded maybe a little bit into, but
not really.
That kind of over the top, what I consider to be kind of anime voice acting, but your mileage may vary.
I don't know if it's that over the top,
look
but
at
it's
that mention.
Yeah, it's still the comic book, cutscene kind of thing. So it's really not anything crazy. But that's not really what you're playing it for anyway.
I think if you play a lot of, especially lower end PC games, you're kind of used to this is how we get across the finish line with a story and with cinematics for a certain level of resources. I don't have a problem with that, but it's a bummer that it doesn't have a compelling story if that's the case, Dan. But I wasn't expecting something like Tolstoy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything for all the people that are going to play Everspace 2 now, but
they still messing around with clones.
It is. They are. They sure are.
Yeah, you got to keep messing around with clones. That was a good idea.
Now, did it release? You said it was released in 2021
on Steam.
I thought it released. Is that in early access though?
Might be.
No, I
just quickly
Googled it. It's just an older game. I think it's just an older game.
No, Everspace 2 released on PC last year and released on consoles and Game Pass this year, right?
That's what
I said. 2021 on Google.
Oh,
that's wrong.
Well, it might be 21.
I hadn't played that game a while ago, but also I feel like I have time dilation the past couple of years. So many.
You're never playing games when they come out, though, Travis. I mean, like let's be honest.
That's
Travis
true. I don't think I played that one before it was out, though. I don't think so. I don't think I covered it.
Is the loot system good?
On Windows in 2023? What are you looking at? You're gonna ever?
You said Windows, Steam.
No, it says PC April 6, 2023 on their Wikipedia. Maybe I'm wrong.
I can't pretend to know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But loot system good?
I mean, it's not as deep as Diablo and Division 2, obviously, but it works. It works great. There's like 5 or 4 different rarities.
Is it good? Yeah. It works.
Yeah, it works. I mean,
it does not break.
It's more like it's more akin to like, okay, that one's got better stats. I don't really care about everything else. Like what
he's right. It was early access. I don't remember that.
And then, it's the pink, blue, green, gray. That's your tiers. Rare, ultra rare. I don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah, you've pretty much lost me at this point.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get. They're trying to do maybe 2 different things they shouldn't be doing, but it works. Yeah. It's fine. Okay. Here's the best part of it. The combat is really, really, really good. The space flying is really, really, really good.
Okay.
That part of it is excellent. Controls really well. The ships all feel different when you have them. And it's just really well done in that sense. And there are some really big like combat scenes. There's some really big battles that are really fun to take part of. And it's challenging too. So
well, we got a couple comments. Ade says
it's not a sim. It's very goes where your joystick says.
Yeah, Sid says it's very arcadey. He said progression curve's not like Diablo or Path of Exile, but has much more charming weapons. And then Ade says it's he said it's Diablo like Space Fighter. Yep, on Game Pass. So cool. All right. Maybe I'll download it and at least check it out.
Makes me want to play more Chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very similar too. That was a good one too.
I love Chorus.
Yeah,
on Game Pass. Go get him.
Yeah, I mean that is the nice thing. We joke about it all the time, right? Like I wasn't gonna buy this game to play it, but if it's on Game Pass, I can at least download it and check it out. So cool. All right. Well, let's get to the topic Hoag's been waiting for to rant about. I know how he is.
Now hang on 1 second, Ains. I don't want to interrupt, but I feel like I must.
Go.
I have one important Hoag's Notes type game that I really wanted to share with folks because I loved it this week.
Let's hear it.
It is called The Fabulous Fear Machine.
Nice.
Oh Lord.
Have any of you heard of this? No. Fantastic.
I don't think anybody has ever heard of it.
No, it's a PC game. I've been playing it on Steam. I think it's like $20. It is a game in which you control the levers of the fear machine and are trying to spread fear across whatever region the mission is about, whether it's Europe or England or Mexico or some other places that are in the game. And you're spreading this fear by sharing urban legends around various cities. And when those urban legends spread enough, you can transmit your message to the people that are now receptive to it. And you can control what they're going to do, and you can advance your own ambitions that way. So there's like a big pharma executive. What? This is just Facebook.
This is a crazy looking game. It looks like a Silver Age comic inspired.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about how it looks, it's kind of hosted by a Crypt Keeper type character, and all of the graphics are in that kind of comic book setup.
Okay.
So it's absolutely addictive. It is significantly more political than you might think based on that premise, but it talks about politics and religion and
at times this Fox News simulator.
Well, you spread fear so that they are receptive to your message, and your message is things like this city isn't safe and whatnot. And so that helps you get your wish granted by the fear machine, and the fear machine is essentially granting wishes like Calypso in the old Twisted Metals.
Okay. All right. Wow.
But it's very compelling. It's one of my favorites of this week. Certainly, I've played it a ton, and I highly recommend it. It's very interesting if you're interested in strategy at all. It's a real-time kind of strategy game. You're interacting with these things by sending out agents who have their own stories to tell of how they got involved with the fear machine. And those agents go and they mine the essence of people's fear from various locations, and you have to implant it and then pump out the fear money. It's a whole thing from the various cities, and it's a lot of fun. Is it on the Nintendo? No, I don't think so.
It sounded funny. You said it's one of my favorites. This, and my mind heard year, and then you said this week, and I was like, oh, okay.
It might wind up on my favorites of the year list, but it is a game that I find very compelling. I think I will actually beat it this coming week, but I like it a lot, and folks should check out Weird Games.
Yes, I agree with that. I don't know why Travis is doing Samba de Amigo over there.
No, that was Michael Jackson's "Beat It."
Was it?
He said he was going to beat it. I was thinking of the music video.
Okay. No, I hadn't heard of that, Toad. That's crazy. So does it play like someone else mentions Gracefully Insane says cross between Democracy and Plague Inc. So Plague Inc. was a popular kind of take over the world, right? With stuff.
I think actually that the tag in Steam is Outbreak Simulator. So I think it is of the Plague Inc. variety as you think about this, right? So when you start a map, and it's all these campaigns that are like a single person controlling the machine in one comic book, and then they're divided into submissions for the regions that you take over. You start by selecting which parts of these regions you want your messages to go to, and they have different requirements for overall fear level. And then the fear is divided into kind of locuses of fear. So you can fear conspiracy and government. You can fear harm to the body. You can fear the unknown, the Cthulhu-esque stuff. And the legends will have different powers in these various things. But you start off the mission by placing the seed of fear in a specific location. And then as fear grows, that grows your territory out to being able to pump fear out of various cities. So you have to think through what messages you want to get to various regions, where you want to start the fear cycle, and then what legends go in various places. And then there will be rivals on maps that try to stop the fear. And so it's a lot of kind of simple board game type decisions, but a lot of them in real time, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay. That's cool. Crazy. Very cool. Let me get this. We got a member comment from Mr. Gio Rio. Remember for 13 months says, hi, lovely people. I haven't been live for more than a year, but I kept watching in my spare time. I read the NDA, had fun in the test of the latest DC game, which, yes, we're not allowed to talk about. But
whatever that might be.
Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to, but it comes out in February. So that'll be good. Yeah. Cool. Glad to see you, Gia. Hope you have been.
I think that particular game is actually running a Travis favorite early access version. So I think it comes out in January.
I don't know what game you're talking about. So
yeah, I don't know what game we're talking about either.
I don't know what a game is.
Yep. All right. So sorry about the
self-harm crew.
Sorry about the early try to cut there. I was going to cut to Last of Us Online, of course. Is there anything you want to mention before we get there?
Nope, that was it. I wanted to make sure I talked about Fabulous Fear Machine because I really have played it a lot this week.
Fabulous Fear Machine. Travis, you joking or being serious?
Should we talk? Or are we going to talk about the finals later? Is that after
the finals? The game?
Mm-hmm.
No,
you said you want to talk about it this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it last week. So
I played it.
Okay, what do you think?
I really think it's awesome. I was kind of very impressed by it. Yeah, it's a cool ass game. So yeah, I've been playing a little bit of that, which that was not on my radar at all. By the way, Ains, like I found out about it at the Game Awards. Like I was like, what?
I've been telling you about it for a while.
I mean, I don't listen that well.
I know.
So yeah. I just don't. I feel like maybe you mentioned it, but I just don't remember. I don't know why it didn't. It just never popped with me until I actually saw gameplay.
Because the name is terrible.
Yeah, in all seriousness, like I did a video of it in April, I think, earlier this year. I've talked about it a lot, but it's from a studio that's unknown because, well, not unknown, but lesser known. But it is made, as I've said many times, by ex-Battlefield devs, right? That's who set up Embark Studios. But the reason I was so interested in this game from the moment I saw it is I just thought the combination of what they're going for between the speed, the competition, and the destruction would make for just an amazing first-person shooter sandbox. And it has. It is an absolute blast.
It's fantastic. And I love the destruction. I love the tone where it's got like weird like arcade noises and you're spending coins to respawn. The class-based system I'm still getting used to. I seem to gravitate toward medium weight. The lightweight I can't. You die so quick, and I feel like I'm moving so quickly I'm worse at shooting. But yeah, I was really impressed by that. It kind of came out of nowhere for me, and so a free game you can just hop into and have a ton of fun with. And they let you unlock the ability to wear a full suit immediately, which increases my ability to like the game quite a bit. All three of my characters are wearing suits now, so it's pretty.
So I'm using the heavy. So the guys I play with run medium light usually, and I run heavy a lot in it. And but I have a full suit with a short hair. I look kind of like a bodyguard, basically running around.
Nice, yeah. It's good.
It's a lot of commitment to the bit from Travis. And to be honest, Danes, I remembered you talking about it. I couldn't have told you that it was called The Finals, but I definitely remembered you talking up a game about being on a reality television program and collecting money from kills.
Yeah. It's
that old top-down shooter. Smash TV. That's a great game.
Oh, that's an absolute classic. I really wish
I into Smash TV back in the day.
Me too.
That's what it reminds me of.
Me too. Yeah, and I think that's why I immediately gravitated towards it. They showed this at the Game Awards last year. That's where the video debuted of it. And then it did an alpha before summer that I played in. That's why I did my video at the time. But it's definitely struck a nerve with some people because it's being played a lot. It has broken 200,000 concurrent on Steam. It is in top 10 on Steam. It is now #1 on the top free games on Xbox. So people are definitely picking it up, which is great to see. Some of the plays from some of the streamers, like the high level players, the Twitch kind of like players, Twitch shooters that people are making and showing in that game are just unbelievable. So like I said, it's a great sandbox. It plays very smoothly. It's no matter if you're playing on console or PC, it's super fast. It's super fun, free to play. Great
I also
style. So yeah,
appreciate it's not elimination based, at least not in its current modes. So your team can get wiped and you just get put back in the game, so you still have a chance. And yeah, man, pulling off a win. My first match was a win, which I was not expecting because I hopped into this late, like after people already got good at the game. But
yeah,
it's a cool experience.
very
And then
fun.
the only other game I wanted to shout out that is not the normal stuff that we've been talking about is Leica Aged Through Blood, which I think I talked about this on the show earlier this year because I previewed it, but I'm now playing like the retail version of that game and I just forgot how awesome it is. So that one's on my list of things you guys should check out.
Nice.
Everyone here should play that one. Like that's like just just a very quality game in general. So
all platforms.
I think so. Yeah, I'm playing it on. I have it on PC and Xbox. So
okay.
All right.
Yeah. So Shelton says Final's really easy to pick up, but it is very complex. And I've tried to stress that, and that, you listen to me enough. That's what I like in games is competitive shooters. And what I like about this game, it's very easy to pick up, run in, it's free to play and start playing. But the more you play it, and I've got between the betas, alpha, and now the core game, I'm probably sitting at about 25, 30 hours. It's a lot deeper than you see at first. There's a lot more complexity there in teamwork and strategy. And, it already has ranked and tournament modes in it, which are actually pretty well done. It kind of does it like a final 16 mode where it starts, it's like a bracket system. So it's very well done. I would, if you like competitive shooters in any sense, give it a try.
I still need to play with a group because I've only played matchmaking. You can tell by playing it that it really wasn't designed to be played match made because it just.
Can I ask you this on both match made and for groups that you set up? How is the game set up so that a person can be a drag on the team? Because I tell you, my concern with arena shooters and team-based shooters right now is that if I go online, I don't know how I will do, and I feel badly for my teammates if I'm just dead weight. So how much does that matter for how the game is set up?
It matters a lot.
Yeah. So like, I'm not going to pop in because I don't feel like that's a good thing to do to other people.
Well,
you can jump in with me. I don't mind.
I mean, the game is sort of like because it's free to play and it's so accessible. I feel like I was running into groups that had folks that were just as like new to it as I was, even though I'm playing like later after the game's out. And then there were also some people on like other teams where they were like dropping out of the match in the middle and stuff like that and kind of screwing over their team. So it doesn't feel to me like right now that the community has gotten so insular that it's hard to join it, because that's usually what happens later in the lifespan of a shooter is like the people who really love it stick around, and then trying to get into it is like straight up pain, like League of Legends is like a famously hard game to get into nowadays because the meta has been established, and if you don't know how to play, they will just destroy you. So I don't think it's at that point yet. Like I jumped in, match made, had no idea what I was doing. The tutorial is not helpful, by the way. The tutorial tells you basically nothing. And I jumped in and was like learning in my first match, and we won the first match, and I didn't feel animosity from my teammates. So I don't think it's that bad, Ho, because you have respawns, and
if you have self-inflicted on my side, I mean, it's really pulling my own weight and not dragging people back. That's what I don't like in those spaces.
Yeah, I mean, wins don't matter that much in the quick play.
No, that's what I was going to say. To back up on my previous statement, what I found after playing a lot, right? The teams of three, that they're teams of three in both modes. And if you fight a team of three that knows what they're doing and coordinates, you're done. I mean, that's where the skill comes in. But to Travis's point, to back up a little bit on my previous statement, we'll go a whole night where I'll play 10, 12, 15 matches and won't get a win. And that's okay, because the mode we play is 4 teams of 3, right? And so your odds of winning are already lower, but it's just so much fun to play regardless, because you can just cause chaos at all times. I think you'll still have fun with it, Hogue. So like, it's not like, as usual, I'll go back to Halo, right? It's not like Halo where you have 2 teams of 4, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser, and you need all 4 people to coordinate, right? On this, it's okay if you lose. It's not a big deal. And you can still have a lot of fun. And if you really do want to try it and you're afraid of letting a team down, just hit me up. You can jump on with me.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's kind of what I've dealt with all year with respect to online games is that I know that I'm not, even judging against myself, I'm not at full capacity from a year ago, so I feel bad.
Yeah. And it is a fast-paced game. Like once you get into it, there's a lot going on. But that's what makes it fun, you know. So
yeah, and I say, Hogue, try to be a little bit more shameless. Just like get in there, ruin someone's day, and then when they get mad at you about it, like troll them, like act like it was their fault. Like, bro, I was trying to carry all your dead weight. You know? put it back on them. You know what I mean?
It's funny, but yeah, I don't know that I can get there. It's even my daughter playing Splatoon. I used to be like, "Are you sure you want to go online, honey?" Because you're younger. And then pretty quickly it became apparent that she really was carrying all the teams in Splatoon. Yeah. Like she was always
she turned her hat backwards and she was like, "Get good, scrub."
She's sending messages to her teammates after the match.
Like, she's like, "Bro, what are you doing?" You know, just like being hella toxic. Yeah. I don't know if you mentioned, but I don't know if you know this, but me and your daughter, we just go into Splatoon lobbies together, and we just straight, dude. People. We're like, ruh.
Yeah. That's great.
She loves Splatoon.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna write up a review of the finals just because I've played so much of it at this point. I love it so much. I did see IGN did a review. They gave it an 8. I think that's probably in the ballpark of, you know, I think I can see that for sure. I don't know if it's definitely high. I just don't know how high. It obviously, you know, it just launched, right? And it's a free-to-play game. So the big question, as always, as we talk about, is what's their content plan moving forward? They have released
content plan, because I think the main thing, if I were reviewing it, that I would knock it for is it is very light right now.
It is very light.
Maps and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. And they have done some quick updates already to kind of tune things and stuff. They listen to community, which is good to see, but content's going to be key for 2024. So I hope they do well with it. It's a great foundation. I'll say that. So let's get a couple of these.
Ains, have you played any of the Midwinter Blight?
I have not. No.
I was just curious.
No. I literally, outside of some VR here and there, I have played nothing but competitive shooters. I've played Finals, I've played Halo, I've played PUBG, and I've played Call of Duty.
Oh, it's a PUBG.
Yeah,
I accidentally became the hardest core Diablo player on the.
Yeah, you have. You have.
I'm honestly impressed, Hogue, and I wanna. How do we get into the Hogue clan? Can we get in that party?
Yeah, we can get an invite.
Are you in a clan?
Well, I'm in with my brother.
Is it just you two?
2 heroes are better than 1. Yes.
We have an SG clan. No, don't listen to Travis's clan. His clan sucks.
My clan.
We have an SG clan.
Diablo devs in it. We're the intergalactic gentlemen. No, we're the very demonic gentlemen. I think that's our clan.
Yeah, but what's the clan name?
There you go.
Ding. Yeah, PUBG. So PUBG, I won't stay on it, but PUBG had the big update this week. It was last week on PC, this week on console. It's the first new 8x8 kilometer map they've released in a while called Rondo, which is massive when you play it, by the way. Like, it's absurdly large. And great update game. You know, it's just a classic BR, man. Super fun to play. I still love PUBG. So that's
I love PUBG.
Gamefire says, "What's on the food talk today? We need Foodcast back."
Tune in the same time next week for Ains and I to be cooking. That'll be your Foodcast. It's a literal Foodcast, actually. So there you go.
Actual food. Don't know if you're going to want to eat it, but you know,
you'll want to eat mine. I'm going to crush it.
Have you guys decided on your dishes?
Nope.
Already?
No.
Not yet.
Man.
I haven't even cracked open the book.
Probably more excited for any other content on SG than your food.
Nice. That's right. Yeah, long awaited. Once a year.
Gio, Dan, you want to hit this one?
Yeah, Gio Rio with 11 euros. Travis, you as VR master, what do you know or think of lo-fi?
I have seen as much as I presume the rest of the world has seen of lo-fi, which is I have not gotten a chance to like preview it or see it, get like any sort of briefing on it behind the scenes, but its initial pitch is very interesting. I will be interested to see if it lives up to that promise. For those of you who don't know, it's like a very interesting sci-fi kind of, I don't want to say cyberpunk. It's kind of like sci-fi noir setting with an open world environment and some really interesting ideas about how the player could interact with that world in VR. It is pitching itself as like a super ambitious new type of VR game, which it appears to be, but remains to be seen. I will be keeping an eye on that. If there's any opportunity to cover it for IGN, I will certainly do it, but it sounds like right now they are pre-early access, and I don't know that they don't have a release date or anything. So I don't know that they're currently seeking any press or doing anything with any outlets. So if they do, I'll certainly volunteer. It looks interesting.
Cool. Very cool. Gio, thank you.
That one's for PC and PlayStation VR 2, I believe.
Sweet. All right. By the way, we've got a hashtag going right now. Hashtag ham for Dan. We're going to get that trending.
No.
Ham for
Chinese
Dan.
food on Christmas, man.
Ham for Dan.
Chinese Day. That's why I go to Chang's Walk and get a giant, selection of their delicious goodness. So I don't have to cook on Christmas. That's the
Fair
whole,
enough.
That's the whole point. Yeah. Delicious.
All right.
Shout out Mongolian beef. All
right. All right, boys. So Last of Us. Figure we'll touch on it. Last of Us Online, which we've been hearing about for a few years now, has been canceled officially by Naughty Dog a couple days ago. So yeah, this one's interesting. I don't really know what to say about this. I was looking forward to kind of this conceptually, if they could pull it off. I know there's a small community out there that really love factions from Last of Us 1. This, of course, if you don't know the history on this one, this was originally supposed to launch as a mode with Last of Us 2 back in 2020. They said, wait, we're turning this into a separate mode, a standalone thing, because we're going to be very ambitious with it. And in the cancellation, they basically said, we were very ambitious with it, and it's very clear that we cannot do this and do the other single-player stuff we're working on simultaneously, and they have canned it. So, I don't know, guys. This one, we've talked about it quite a bit over the past several months, I would say, with PlayStation in general. Just a weird feeling going on right now with what's going on with PlayStation, which I feel like for Dan, as long as we've done this show, we've been pretty confident in the sense of what PlayStation was doing from a game management perspective. And we always talked about that. And our questions were always about Xbox. Like, when's Xbox going to show us the goods? When are these acquisitions going to make sense? And that's been the theme for a long time now. And I feel this year, like, that's now flipped. Now it's like, okay, we have a roadmap for Xbox. We know what games are coming in 2024. They're very open about first party, blah, blah, blah. PlayStation, we're like, what's going on? Like, we know Insomniac announced a Spider-Man 3 already, as Spider-Man 2 selling, and a Spideyverse apparently that they're potentially working on. Last of Us Online gets canceled. We know Last of Us 2 Remastered comes out soon, and we don't know anything else. And it just feels like this was like cherry on top of weirdness going on with PlayStation right now, and it's just strange. I don't really know what else to say about it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But when I saw it, I thought, why does it take so long to figure out that this is what it takes to put together a gas?
Yeah, clearly they don't watch the show. We've been talking about the needs of live service for years.
Not even us. I mean, I'm just saying. I think I said it in the chat. We had, they've got a certain amount of employees. Bungie has 1,000, and they're not. It seems like that community seems a little bit bummed on the what they're putting out and stuff. And you've got a very small community or a small, dev team relatively compared to some of the other bigger ones. And you're trying to do two things at once. You're not Travis Kelce here. So, you can't do that. So it's crazy, man. It's sad. I mean, I'm not sad because I don't care for live service games anyway. Generally, except for Hitman 3.
I don't care for this live service.
I don't care for this.
But let's talk about all of that, Dan, because I am in agreement with you that it doesn't make a lot of sense for the timing. It's one of the reasons why I think you really have to dissect what message they put out there. And if I were to kind of shorten it to the smallest bits, Naughty Dog goes out there and says, look, if we went through with this and it's probably awesome, but don't worry about that, as they suggest in their subtext. We would have to become a gas company and not make the single player adventures that you love so much. What they've set up is a dichotomy. Some might argue it's a false dichotomy between what they can be and if they go down this direction and what they can be if they don't. And ultimately, it doesn't make a ton of sense to me sitting here that they arrive here at this point, however many years on, and say that this is what's happened. So I think there's a lot of kind of deflection. I think there's even kind of protection, depending on how much Sony was asking for this particular direction from Naughty Dog, if that was in fact the case. I also think there's protection of Naughty Dog itself, which is to say, we talk about Neil Druckmann a lot, but he's only been running the studio really through The Last of Us and Uncharted 4 Gets Dark era. And at some point, the buck stops at the head of the studio. And there's also a lot of protection in that statement of, this isn't us. We're deciding that we don't want to be a gas company, because there's a lot of noise online that says there's people like Dan that feel pretty negatively about gas as a concept, right?
Well,
and so Naughty Dog is your righteous benefactor, making sure they don't go down that road. And don't worry about the fact that we're canceling this project we hyped up for years and years, right? I mean, like, that's a messaging statement more than anything else. I don't think we should take it on faith that everything in there is exactly as presented.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But I think even if they're lying to us about the reasons, or they're giving us the most
lying's too strong a word.
Yeah, if they're giving us the most possible sugar-coated explanation for why this is happening, my opinion was immediately in reacting to this, and I think I was on a live stream when this happened, so somebody read it to me, and my reaction was good. Like, good. I'm glad they killed it. And the reason for that isn't like, oh, I hate this developer, or I hate games, or I want bad things to happen to game studios. That's certainly not my position at all. I think that it is good that this got canceled because it was a bad idea. Conceptually, it's a bad idea. The Last of Us universe is about the worst universe I could imagine for a multiplayer game that probably isn't going to have a whole lot of story or depth to it, right? It's a like online shooter was basically the idea. And that if that's the pitch, I say to that, wow, sounds like a really bad premise. And then it's from a studio with no multiplayer chops, and especially no pedigree for live service. So that's a bad idea as well.
I'll also grant you live service, but people do like factions.
Sure, I think Factions is terrible, so that's my view on it. And
I didn't like it either, but people do.
I think the reason people like Factions is because they were PlayStation players who had never played an online game before, because PlayStation 3 had none, right? And so Factions was their only option. And so they didn't understand there were better games on other
Resistance
platforms.
2 is good. I'll stand for it.
I was going to say Resistance 2 has a sad, so...
All right. Well, other people like Resistance.
No, your point is taken. No, generally speaking, they haven't delivered quality multiplayer experiences.
Yeah, they haven't delivered quality multiplayer experiences, and so people liked Factions because it was, it was lukewarm water in a desert. Like, I'll take it.
Yeah, it was not.
Yeah. So I think, there's that. And then they're also a company that very clearly does not understand the games as a service market, indicated by both the way that their studio is structured, which is not to support a game like that, and also by the reaction that you get from Bungie, a company that for all of its vices and things that it does terrible, does understand games as a service. You have to give them that. All right. And, kind of looked at this project and went, I don't know about that. And so I think the sooner that they get rid of a bad idea, the better it's going to be for the long-term health of the studio. I think that this was a bad idea that was never going to be good. It certainly wasn't going to live up to people's expectations, given how long it has been in development. And I think that them looking at this and going, hey, we would have to invest a whole lot more to make this work in today's online ecosystem, and we're not down for that fight. I think that is the responsible thing to do. So I will give them kudos for canceling this. You should have canceled it sooner. Probably
that's the idea, right? Like, that's how the messaging is structured. That's what they want you to say is, this is the choice we had. And so you give them kudos because that's the right choice out of the presentation that they've made. I'm not saying they're lying. I'm saying that this is what we would call spin, which takes maybe a little bit too much of a negative turn of phrase online, but it is taking a decision that you had to make because it wasn't working out for whatever reason. Resource management, project scope, however it got to be here where you decide to cancel it. You then figure out what's the best way to talk to people about our cancellation. And it's, you didn't want us to become a gas company, did you? And everybody can agree, no, we didn't.
Yeah.
So that's how we arrive at this point.
I will say that, yeah, obviously there's some spin to it. But I do believe them when they say it would take a lot more resources than we've invested to make this good, and we're not up for that fight, right? That's not what we want to do. I think to that, like, I know that that's true. I know that their company is not ready for a live service.
I think they underestimated the scope of delivery of this type of project, for sure.
I think when it was first pitched, it was probably like, hey, remember factions? We can do a little side thing like that. And then as they looked around at what it takes to succeed in the multiplayer space, they went, oh, well, live service is a big thing, so we'll do that. And then they talked to Bungie, their new acquisition, and said, so what does this entail? And Bungie said, well, and rolled out the scroll and said it takes all this. And at that point, I think Naughty Dog was probably like, yeah, Naughty Dog was probably like, okay, we thought we were just going to be able to maybe give them a map every 6 months. And they were like, no, it's not how that works. So I regardless of how much spin there is, I think them canceling it was the right decision. This was never going to be good. I think that the sooner they should have done this sooner. And I don't think the world is missing out on, like, people are saying, oh, just put it out there. I want it to be out in the world, even if it's not complete or you're not going to be supporting it after that. And I say to those people, like, I think it's better. I think the world's a better place without this product ever seeing the light of day.
I agree that I don't think that there's missing anything from it not coming out. I think we're missing something from the games that should have been born if they weren't wasting their time and resources on this.
Yeah, agree.
Maybe.
So we've got a few comments on here about this that I want to touch on because I think they're interesting. So, Fickle Gamer says, not sure if you guys touched on this earlier, but why does multiplayer nowadays have to be Gus? What happened to just adding
exactly what I was going to say?
Doesn't have to be, but yeah, there are lots of multiplayer games that aren't games as a service, but if you want a community to stay alive, you are now competing with teams that are constantly giving updates to their players. And if your idea is that you can make a multiplayer game and people will, for some reason, keep playing it forever with no support, you are going to get your ass kicked. That's why it has to not necessarily be a game as a service, but it has to have ongoing support if your expectation is that people are going to be playing this game every week. If that's not your expectation, make a multiplayer game and people will have fun with it for a bit and it'll go away. But if your idea is they're going to be playing this for a long time and you're not going to be supporting it long term, how do you expect to compete for people's attention with that model?
Yeah, so I want to get the super chat from Sid here, and shout out Sid. Hope you're doing well, mate. Dan, you want to touch?
Sure.
You want to read this one? Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Sid, for the 400 Indian rupees. I seriously don't understand why The Last of Us multiplayer has to be live service. There are other single player games that ship with add-on multiplayer that are really fun. Removing the service stuff, kind of like Gotham Knights.
Yeah, I think Travis kind of just touched on it, right? But I think I'd say two things to this. I'd say one, the market in 2023 or 2024, whatever, is very different than it was even 5 years ago when it comes to multiplayer engagement, right? And keeping players engaged, which is what Travis is speaking to. And then the other thing is, there are games like even Uncharted 4, right? People forget, I guess, but Uncharted 4 has a multiplayer mode, right? That you can play and has unlockables and all that stuff. But I think to Travis's point, which I would agree with, is that it's just not the market now. There are so many games vying for your weekly, monthly engagement. And there are so many studios that are dedicated to providing new content, battle passes, unlockables, cosmetics, content, etc., that you can engage with. The games that have these add-on multiplayer modes are kind of going away because they're not keeping players. And so if you're not keeping players and you're not delivering content that's creating a revenue stream, the developers are not going to spend money to develop it. There's no return on investment in that space.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to agree violently with all of you on this, which is to say it's the marketplace. And I think it's being looked at a little bit with rose-colored glasses. Every single game we used to play had a kind of strapped-on multiplayer mode. BioShock had a multiplayer mode. And
underrated.
BioShock 2's multiplayer was fun.
Underrated. Yeah. Underrated, actually. Yeah.
But I don't think that it was a great thing for those resources to be devoted to that. Ideally, that the resources would go into the single-player game that is where people actually want to live. And to the extent that we aren't getting those tack-on multiplayer modes, I don't think anything of value is really lost over the long term. But when you talk about just putting on a multiplayer mode like a Factions in The Last of Us, it is the fact that they're competing with the folks with the battle passes, and that the people that engage in multiplayer the most, the market has basically decided that that's where they like to live. And to some extent, the current games publishers don't believe that there is a market for folks that just want to play an arena shooter and not have some kind of meta progression and will just keep coming back to it. And that makes sense for their teams to make. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with them. There have been times in the video game industry where I haven't agreed with what the consensus of publishers is. Like when MOBAs took down real-time strategy games. I think those are distinct feeling genres. And I'm looking forward to seeing more real-time strategy games kind of make a comeback a little bit. But that's what happened at that moment in time, was that basically Dota 2 and MOBAs in general became so popular that real-time strategy resources went into that game as if it was just subsuming the entire marketplace. And that's what happens when we watch these things. So why does it have to be live service? First of all, I think Travis is right that there is a distinction between live service and just continuing content, although I think for the player, it feels mostly the same. But it's because they don't think that players just want a non-content creation, battle pass, live service, calendar-oriented multiplayer environment. And maybe they're wrong, and that'll come out in the wash in a couple of years. But I tend to think that they are right, and you aren't just competing with other tack-on multiplayers now. You're competing with the finals. You're competing with Apex Legends. You're competing with Diablo at a certain level.
I mean, there's millions of them. That's
and by the way, I view that as a good thing. Like if you like single player games and you want companies to focus on that, the fact that multiplayer is so competitive with these games as service games is actually good for you. To Hoag's point, the death of tacked on multiplayer modes where companies felt like they had to have that in the game, right? Like that was just a baseline feature. Well, people won't take you seriously if you don't also have a multiplayer mode. Those are dead because it's no longer profitable to do that. And so now you're seeing that those companies that make single player primarily focused games and then did a secondary multiplayer mode, they are now having to get even better and double down even harder on single player because they don't have that multiplayer well to kind of hedge their bets on. That's really not an option anymore. And so the ultra competitiveness of the live service and multiplayer and shooter world is actually a boon to everybody because the multiplayer people get games that are just focused on that. The single player people don't have to worry about 20% of the team working on a multiplayer mode that nobody's going to play or care about. I think that's good for everybody. So you're welcome to not have.
I tend to agree with Travis.
I agree as well. That's just the state of the market is what we're saying, basically. And to Hope's point, the market
though. I mean,
it evolves over time,
right? And it could. I mean, I don't know to say devolve, but I mean, I don't see a problem. Here's what I see. You know, you've got.
Thank you, Sid.
The minimal viable product, right? The MVP. That's what all these live services are targeting. They've got, then they got their, whatever comes down the line, they fix it. Why not have a product that just works out of the box? I think, you have to make some tweaks and updates, but like even going as far back as Modern Warfare, that was a single player Call of Duty with, they had a certain amount of maps. They added a couple maps here and there. That thing got played all the time by me. I mean, it was a huge multiplayer game.
Are you talking about Modern Warfare?
I'm talking about the original Modern Warfare.
Because the market's completely different now.
Right, but
let's
that
just
doesn't
ROI.
mean that can't succeed. I think if you put out something that is viable, if you make a game that people will want to actually pay the $70 for, and then you don't have to have battle passes. You don't have to have constant content updates if it's good on release and it's fully realized. But that's not what we get anymore. We get
Dan, I think you're arguing for something that I often have a discussion with folks on this, which is that there's a separate market for a non content generating calendar based multiplayer. And I think you might be right. I can't tell you that you're wrong. What I can tell you is that it's a harder pitch in the boardroom when people see the money going to the free-to-play services and the ones that have the battle pass and everything else, and those are revenue-generating sources. So a lot of the time when they get to the point where they've made a multiplayer game, it doesn't make sense to not organize it around those concepts. Now that they exist and now that we know that people buy them. Right.
Yeah. And so to your answer your question, Dan, of like, can't you just make a really good multiplayer mode and not support it as a live service? You can, and people have done that. But the problem is that those only last like a month, right? And even if your multiplayer is good, then you've got live service games coming out with new content all the time. People leave, and then if you sell a copy of, you know, your Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 or whatever, and it's got that standalone multiplayer mode, then people are hopping to matchmaking and not able to get a match because nobody's in the player pool. And so it's just a reality of like, there's a market for people who like multiplayer, and it's a big new shiny thing, and people are going to flee whatever cool multiplayer you've experienced as soon as there's a new shiny thing for them to run toward. And that's what makes it not worth it, is like, is it a selling point for that game, and how long is it actually going to help your product? And so I view it as a good thing, because if you want to make a multiplayer mode, it means that you have to take it seriously, because an add-on mode is going to kill you, right? And then if you don't want to get into that rabbit hole, it forces you to double down and be really good at the thing you actually want to do, making a single player game or what have you. So I think it ends up benefiting both sides of the aisle.
Well, and I think Travis likes live services and all of the content generation that goes into it, and I think that's fine. I think most people do, regardless of what noises they make online. Dan, it sounds to me like you get into a multiplayer game, you don't like to see the battle pass there. You don't like to see the content roadmap. Is that accurate with where you're sitting on this?
I don't like to see multiplayer, so yeah.
Well, I mean,
generally, I don't care. But that's the thing, you know. It's if you you know, I think you can do it. Yeah, if you want this, you know, revenue, you know, down the road, I understand that part. You got to make the live service, but at what point, you know, I'm curious. I don't know enough about development. You know, could you make a game, a $70 game that was just straight multiplayer that had basic, you know, the updates would basically be, okay, maybe we add a map here and there, and maybe, you know, we make sure we fix the bugs and take care of like some cheating and stuff that would actually be profitable. Could you do that now? These days, or,
I mean,
I don't think
yes.
I don't think so. I mean, I think you can, but I think the market has proven to. I think what Hogue is saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, Hogue, but the market has proven out over the past several years that that's not the direction, right? Like, looking.
I think there's a distinction there, Ains, which is that you can be profitable. Like, that could work. You could have a single product to sell, and you could make X amount of dollars. It's just more dollars are sitting right out there, and the market has shown that it's willing to spend those. So absent a Dan or Dans of the world saying, look, we don't like the existence of those revenue generating sources, and we will only play your multiplayer game if they're not there. That's the only market that we're talking about that could exist in a situation where we have a game that doesn't have those. So if that isn't the case, and I don't think Dan is actually standing for the proposition that he doesn't want to even look at a game that has a content roadmap in it, then it makes sense for everybody that spent the money to make a multiplayer game to go and pursue the additions to the game that make the most sense in the market right now, which is battle passes and content roadmaps.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Where I was going is that's already been proven out, right? You look at like Overwatch. Like, Overwatch was a paid multiplayer game, and they quickly learned that, you know, they dropped that very quickly. There's been multiple examples where you had this old market style meeting the new market style, which, you know, Travis described, and it's not working now.
I do love Battleborn, folks. As a reminder.
Yeah, I mean, there's another one. I mean, it's just the market has proven that to be successful in the multiplayer space currently, and that, again, things evolve in the gaming industry every year. The release is to release free to play if you can. Release on as many platforms as you can with crossplay. That's a critical one as well. And then have a revenue stream, an ongoing revenue stream to make that up. And there will be a certain small percentage. Sorry, Dan?
Like Mario Kart?
He said, what about Mario Kart? I mean, Nintendo is always...
You got to take Nintendo out of the equation, man. It's like someone said
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think you have to take Mario out of the equation, because they're doing they are conforming with the market. They're releasing,
but it's a different kind of live service. I think the way Nintendo approaches it is ultimately the same endpoint in a different sales fashion and a different product sold.
I don't think it is live service. I just think it's ongoing support for a multiplayer game, which is you have to have that as part of your model. And I think they're following that model. They have one game, Splatoon, which I would argue is a live service, and then they have Mario Kart, which is just an ongoing game that receives support.
The reason I said you take them out of the model is you can't play any of the games we're talking about most of the games we're talking about on the Switch. You're not playing Call of Duty. You're not playing Halo. You're not playing Finals. You're not playing.
Oh, you're
all
saying
those
they're
games
not
don't
competing
exist.
for the same players.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're not
be playing
competing for the same
factions.
player base.
You're playing that on PlayStation. You're not playing that on Xbox.
But my
or
point is that
PC.
they are adapting to
It's
the market and
a
doing
one-
the things Ains and I are talking about, right? Like they are following that model. They're just doing it on
Just
their
slowly.
platform in their own way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, live service sucks. Let's just get to the bottom.
No,
Why
Well,
do
but
it? Why are you doing
But I
it?
mean, I like one of the reasons I really like playing Diablo 4 is because of the stuff that they have built in there to go after. And so I think I'm not a multiplayer player really myself either, Dan. Diablo 4 works for me because I can see how the content live service system works in what is predominantly a single player game, right? Diablo is multiplayer in the sense that you see people running by and you can go fight world bosses together and whatnot. But when I sit down and play Diablo 4, I'm sitting down and playing by myself for the most part. And having a progress over a season and having these various goals to hit does encourage me in a way that I think when like the trophy system started, they operated on that fashion. I don't really care about trophies, but this content progression, even in a single player environment, which is new to me in Diablo, and I've never really gotten this far in one of these games before, is compelling. I like that. And I think that there's a place for that even in high-end kind of single player approached games now.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of brings it down to the most simple point, I realize, but I think we've said it many times. It's all about implementation. I mean, there's companies who do it well, there's companies who do it extremely poorly, and everything in between. And it's all about implementation.
To bring it back to the original discussion topic of The Last of Us, is that exactly that, right? It's all about implementation. And I think Naughty Dog, they probably got to this conclusion way later than they should have, but they realized that they were either not up for the fight or weren't willing to commit the resources, or things just weren't working out. It doesn't really matter what the reason is. The important thing is that they made the decision to refocus on the thing that they know that they can do well. And clearly they either didn't have the passion, or maybe they were being pushed to make a multiplayer mode, or there was some sort of expectation. We don't really know the story there, but in my mind, I don't think that they had the know-how and I just don't think it was going to work out based on everything that I've seen about how their studio functions. And I think it was a good decision to cancel this project regardless of how they got there, and for all the reasons that we talked about. Like, I don't think you can release a Last of Us multiplayer mode and not support it and expect that to make any sort of sense in today's market, even if you only got your engagement up for like a month or two before people dropped off. Is that worth all the time investment and resources investment,
especially as a standalone, right?
Well,
yeah, that's what this was going to be.
There's another aspect of this, which is one that I don't think people think about all the time, which is that branding matters, right? Naughty Dog has built up over the course of decades now to be basically a pinnacle brand in video games. And if you release something that comes across as half-assed or is reviewed poorly, that can negatively affect your entire brand and the next sales for the next Uncharted or whatever it might be. So it might be that it's coming together. If they want to hit where they want to hit on the Naughty Dog spectrum of success, it's 5 times as much as maybe another company if they didn't have a name and they were releasing only on Steam Early Access. And they looked at that and said no. But however it came to be, I do think it's important, because I'm interested in messaging and discussions of corporations, to note that it's a very well-structured message that is designed for you to agree with their decision at the end of the day. And to really not think about how they got there, which is some level of mistakes, whether that's from Sony, whether that's from Neil, whether that's from how it was all coming together just with the resources that they had. We don't know. We probably won't ever know.
Mistakes, though, very clearly.
Yes, mistakes happened. And we did not get something other than remasters of Last of Us for basically an entire generation of games. And that's worth lamenting, even though, as one of the chat commenters says here, and I agree with, it's important to note that what you hear on the internet about like the cost of things and the investment mistakes, that's not what should drive your decision at the moment in time anyway. That's called the sunk cost fallacy. You should never make decisions based on the investments that you've already expended. Those are gone. And we don't want companies or anybody in life to be locked in to a notion that they have to continue down a path that is the wrong one simply because they've spent money going down it.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Deal with that every day.
Man.
All right.
You guys think like Neil was like 100% on board? Because he comes off as a guy that's, kind of artsy fartsy kind of dude that likes to have his ego in his games almost. You kind of get that. Yeah, I can't.
He
as a player,
strives
you
to be
really
a
don't get that.
Kojima.
I truly
know,
don't even have a
like
guess here, because
artistic
you could look at it both
injection.
ways. Dan, let's assume that your outsider perspective and your interpretation of who Neil Druckmann is correct, and that he's like a, kind of egotistical, obsessed with his own ideas type of guy. If he were like that, I could see both ways. I could see him not having any interest in this multiplayer and getting pressured from PlayStation, being like, all right, somebody else go work on that. I'll work on the things I want to. Or you could see the other way, where he's like, I was destined to make the best multiplayer game also because I make the best story. So I truly have no idea. I don't know this guy. All I know is that based on everything I've seen about his studio and heard about this project, this was never going to work. And to Hoag's point, sunk cost fallacy, they did not go down that fallacious path. They just decided to cut it and go. Good for them.
Yeah. Let's get the super chat from Geo here.
Geo with the 22 euros. We fall in love with game worlds when they are single player, and then want to live in these worlds as a player. And it takes much more than just a DLC to keep you. You need too many storytellers to keep you engaged every week.
Yeah, so I think he's just making the point we were making, right? If you're going to keep engagement up in something like this, you have to be very well prepared to do that, which takes a lot of resources and time and money.
Well, which is funny is you can never please everybody, right? Like, I really have enjoyed Diablo 4, and my timer is at like 9 days or something in Diablo 4, and you can still go online, and there are people that say, well, I can only spend 3 hours a day in Diablo now. What are they doing back there? And it's like, well, I mean, once you get to 1,000 hours, you're really asking for a lot from the dev team. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you everything's been perfect in Diablo 4 land. One of the things I was going to say about Midwinter Blight is it's very slight. It's nothing, but I like it. It's just something to do.
Right.
And other people are like, well, it's slight and nothing. It's like, yeah, it's fair, but you didn't even know it existed a week ago. So
yeah, exactly.
These are the standards that I set. Not everybody's going to agree with that. So one of the things that being a live service company is you're going to take slings and arrows from the hardcore all across the internet, no matter what you make. I think Diablo 4 has largely been successful, but there are a lot of people that are probably mad at me for even saying that in this space, because they had a patch that they didn't like before season 1, and that they didn't like some of the decisions that the development team made even before then.
Yeah, and obviously with an IP like Diablo, that's compounded, right? Because you have those long-term players and that hardcore audience that expect the world with every release. Because they've been playing, that's all they play. To your point, we've talked about that ad nauseum too, but that's something else we discussed. It's like, it's okay to play something else. Like you can't expect a game to be endless all the time. Like, go play other games, come back to it. Travis talks a lot about that as well, which I agree with. So yeah, Gio, thank you so much. Glad to have you here with us live today. Appreciate you. All right. Sorry. There was one other one I wanted to get to now. I'm saving a couple others for the end of the show. But Fishstring says, member comment, what's up, buddy? He says, makes me worry for other studios like Sucker Punch. And I think that was all the way back when I brought this topic up. What I was kind of touching on is with everything that's gone on with PlayStation in the past, let's say year, 18 months, whatever time frame you want to put on there. That's my question is, what's going on with the other big studios, right? And like, what are they working on? And I think we had hoped we were going to get a state of play or something from PlayStation or at the Game Awards or something late this year, other than this Valhalla release. And we just haven't. And it leaves us kind of questioning going into 2024. So, yeah. All right.
I assume they're making another Ghost, but we'll see.
Possibly. I mean, they might be one of the studios working on 12 live service games or whatever, but I think maybe Sony is recalibrating what it's going to take to actually create 12 live service games, maybe through this learning. So
yeah. Well, guys, I wanted to talk a little bit. Funny enough, we've kind of talked on good conversation on that, and it's a big topic in the goes well beyond Last of Us Online, of course, for what's going on in the industry. But as we sit here, we're getting ready to come into the tail end of 2023. What's your favorite thing about this year, man? Like, talk about favorite experiences, disappointments, how you're feeling going into 2024, gaming in general. How do you think the industry is shaping up at the moment? Liking it, loving it, hating it?
This is my favorite year in gaming history, right? So 2023 is the most consistent I can recall gaming being month to month, right? Like just 2 week differences between real high level single player AAA experiences and RPGs that are my favorite bread and butter. And I love that. I see that progressing into 2024 as well, right? We've got Rebirth, we've got Yakuza, I'm sorry, Like a Dragon, and
Infinite
a lot
Wealth,
of other games coming out even in the early part of 2024 that I'm excited about. So
You've got your Suikoden remasters, Hogue.
Eventually, someday, if Konami ever finishes them, yes, the Suikoden remasters that I was the most excited about for 2023, I'm the most excited about for 2024. And the Eiyuden Chronicles, which is the Suikoden spiritual successor, is also supposed to come out next year. So that's a lot of fun stuff for me to be excited about, on top of a Final Fantasy VII project that is going to be one of my favorites of the year if it's anything like its predecessor was, and I think it will be. So I'm very positive. I'm very optimistic. And yeah, I love the MetaQuest 3. I wasn't expecting to even get a chance to play it this year. So many thanks to my parents for surprising me with one. But it's a lot of fun. I couldn't be happier. I know people are upset about the layoffs and kind of the contraction of the industry. I think that's justifiable. I think there was definitely over expenditure and over hiring during the pandemic revenue years. And I think some of that's coming home to roost. But I think at the end of the day, the industry is strong. And after it gets through this kind of pain period, which is not going to end immediately, folks, I'm sorry to say, I think things will be very good indeed.
Sorry for this. Dan had a computer issue, said he had to reboot. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, I agree with you, Hope. Yeah, I think the gaming industry as a whole is very strong. It is very sad, and I want to call out, all the kind of contraction to your point around what we saw with developers, what's going on with Embracer and some of the studios they have, what happened at Bungie. I mean, there's a lot that we can call out here, which is very sad to see, and you never want to see that. But I think there's a much larger conversation we could have about some of the kind of high level corporate stuff in the industry as well, but that's a whole different thing. But in general, 2023 for game delivery, I think is widely agreed to be, if not the best we've ever had, definitely the best anytime recently. It's been absolutely fantastic. I have more games than I can play. For 2024, I'm hugely pumped. I think not only do I live in kind of the live service world nowadays with everything we've talked about, the games I play and all the new content that'll come for those, but things like Towerborn, we get Hellblade 2 finally, super excited for, and Avowed, which we've been hearing about for a while, right? I'm super excited about that. So there's a lot of good things on deck, and we start the year with Suicide Squad and Infinite Wealth, to your point, and we actually have quite a few release dates now. If you go look at 2024 of games that are, coming out pretty early. So the calendar is already stacking up. And I think at this point, you guys disagree with me if you like, but I think at this point, the gaming industry is so large and there's so many developers working on so many different projects for so many different platforms that there really are no droughts. It's not like when we were growing up, or at least Hogue and I growing up compared to Travis, where, there were a couple big games a year and that's what you look forward to. I mean, there really are good games releasing every week or two.
What's funny right now is, the mid-December, January period, especially when I was younger, was like the absolute desert of games, right? Because you hit that November window, you got out for Christmas or you didn't. And then I think slowly, even over the course of the past few years, January kind of opened up as a point in time when people were maybe able to make sales. And then that's been a very good time to buy really big games. Yeah. And so I agree with you that it's been very constant. I think the 2023 period between Tears of the Kingdom and Alan Wake 2 might not ever be topped for me personally. Like in terms of the games that released, that includes Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3. That includes Cyberpunk 2.0, which was a massive release for me because it made a game that I didn't like fun for me. And that came out of nowhere because you hope for those things, but you don't want to hope too hard because it's very rare for a game to change its stripes that much. And
best ongoing game. I mean, they crushed it. Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16.
Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, yes. Pikmin 4. I mean, just an incredible summer of games. And I really enjoy Avatar. I almost just called it Pandora. I really enjoy Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. which is of course a December release that I've enjoyed for the last few weeks, and I couldn't be happier this year. And it was a really nice time for me personally to have a year like that with games because I had so much downtime and needed to work on my hands so much. So from a personal point of view, I'm really excited about 2023 as a games release year.
Yeah. Fantastic. Travis, Dan, any commentary?
Go for it, buddy.
What did he say?
So go for it, little buddy.
To you.
Yeah. 2023, I think, is easily the best year for games so far. And that's for game releases. Obviously, the stuff surrounding the industry is completely a bummer. But I'm trying to view that separately. I'm trying to view it from the perspective of the player who typically, is not concerning themselves with stock prices and layoffs and that sort of thing, which it does affect all of us, but from a games perspective, purely from a games perspective, it's a fantastic year. That said, I don't think it's going to be our best year. I think the games industry is still it's in its starter phases. I think we haven't even really begun to tap into our potential. And I think that 2023 is a huge step in the right direction. It means that we're getting even better as an industry. I don't have complete confidence that 2024 is going to be bigger or whatever, like the next year. But I think generally speaking, the trend line is going to continue to grow and grow to the point where 2023, maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now is going to look like 2007 does now, which is a great year for games, but comparatively the volume and the ambition and that sort of thing is just nowhere near. And so I'm extremely optimistic about where we're going. I hope that some good comes of the industry turbulence, whether it's $69 billion acquisitions or layoffs. Sometimes these things have a way of creating new opportunities for new studios and developers that were laid off starting their own thing and yada yada. And so some of that can be positive. And I think that I hope that will manifest sooner rather than later. But yeah, I love a lot of the games that came out this year. Getting to review a ton of them and preview a ton of them was just a lot of fun, even though not all of the games I previewed and reviewed were good. I think we've only just begun, man. Yeah. I'm very optimistic about where we're headed as an industry.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I usually play about 3 games, like new games every year, and that's usually all I get to do. I mean, that's all I usually want to do anyway. This year it was like 12, and I finished quite a bit of them, if not all of them.
Yeah, because you put serious time into some of those games.
I mean, Hitman 3 still my number 1 play game in terms of hours. Which
is that insane. Real? This year?
Yeah, just over Baldur's Gate 3 on PlayStation. Actually,
really?
I think that.
What about Horizon Zero? What about Horizon Forbidden West?
No,
that was last year.
That was last year.
Oh,
the DLC I might have been. I don't know when that was, but anyway, yeah, it was. Baldur's Gate 3 might have been number 1 because I played it also on Steam. So combined, that one's probably number 1. But Hitman was still like 257 hours or something ridiculous. And then actually following that one, the third one was Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Go figure. I had no idea.
Really?
But, yeah, that's what I play now.
Dan likes to stomp through the jungle.
Yeah, I enjoy just like the comfort food. That's my wheelhouse. But there was like Hogwarts this year and 2 Like a Dragon, games basically. Ishin and man who erased his name.
Yeah, we got that English dub. Are you downloading that, Dan?
Yeah, let's do it. Ready to hop in finally.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm finally gonna play it now that I've got English dubbing.
I'm like,
me too.
What is wrong with you guys?
I mean, you guys can complain, but you got 2 people that wouldn't have played the game probably without it. So shouldn't you be in favor of it, even if you don't use it?
No, because I feel like it'll bring your experience down, and you will like it less. So that's just.
I guarantee you, it will not bring my experience down.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I think it'll bring my experience down more than hearing unintelligible words to my ears and then having to read for 50 hours. That sounds terrible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Anyway. Anyway, it was a good year. I mean, it was amazing year. I mean, it's probably the top. I thought 2018 was great, but this one is probably better in just the terms of big AAA releases. Kind of everybody was kind of hitting, for the most part, and it was, we got a lot of just good stuff that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting Hogwarts to be as good as it was.
Hogwarts was fantastic, man.
My fiance's number one game played this year was Hogwarts Legacy.
Was Hogwarts?
That was up there too with me. Yeah, that's probably
There's a lot there.
Yeah, big game.
So,
yeah, fantastic. I mean, I echo all the same sentiments. I am a Diablo stan. So you said, it's funny when you were talking, Hogue, you said you're at 9 days, if I heard you correctly, on Diablo. So I thought to myself, you still haven't caught me then. Because I know even though I stopped playing it in like August, I'm already over 300 hours. I think I just played the living hell out of that game.
I would have to go look at what the Xbox says right now, but I think it's 9 days and then the hour count.
Yeah. Well, if you guys want a real laugh on the Xbox summary, so played this year in 2023, 741 hours of Halo.
That's insane.
So, yeah.
So I think
that sounds like a lot. I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what it says. So, but yeah, great year. I'm really excited to going back to your point, Travis, because I think you said it well. Is like the industry really as a medium, or not the industry, but the medium is still really in its infancy, and it's evolving in ways that I think are really going to be transformative here in the coming years. I work in the space with kind of like voice recognition and AI, as that's kind of evolving rapidly right now. And the conversation with AI, and we won't get into this now, I'm looking forward to talking about it next year with you guys, but the conversation with AI right now is around like taking the writing jobs and those types of things. And that is an aspect, but it's a shallow aspect of what AI can do for video games. And I think that I'm really excited on the other end to see what AI can do in terms of kind of like procedural generation for kind of like quests and conversational type things, and making characters really feel alive and different from one another. And there's so many opportunities long term for what can be done in these games that we've, you think about the old BioWare system or whatever company you want to throw out there of like, here's your 3 choices, select your response, and then it's programmed to do something. And thinking about that actually being semi-intelligent and able to kind of create things, interactions that are unique as you play is super, super exciting to me. And I really look forward to those possibilities.
Speaking of AI, the finals uses AI.
It does,
for voices.
So, generative AI on the fly is one thing. I'm hearing of developers using it essentially as their toolkit for generating of design in-house, right? Where you have a generative AI build 100 levels and then figure out what's good about those and use that as jumping off points to make level design and to improve your experience in a game from something that can generate 1,000 of something and work from there, right? That's not your experience as a player with AI, but the actual process of developing these games should be improved by tools of those types as well.
Yeah, we've actually have a lot to benefit from that procedural generation.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about, like I said, this is a big topic, right? So I think it'll be a fun thing to talk about a lot next year. But to your point, Hogue, we've talked a lot about development costs, right? And the staff and stuff needed, and not to cut back on staff, but to your point, if it can kind of build that foundation and then kind of refine it and hone it, right? The people can. So there's a lot there. But yeah, about finals, I'm digging into that, Travis, because I want to check that out more. So apparently what they did is they had voice actors, they did all the voice recording and did everything, and then they basically use AI with their voices to expand upon it, so they can say additional things that weren't necessarily recorded, which is kind of an interesting way to approach it. But anyway, I really like where the industry is going, and I think that the gaming experiences we're going to continue to get are just going to continue to blow us away. And I really hope by the time I'm 70 and 80, I can be in Ready Player One world and just disappear into a fantasy world, and I'll be good to go. I'll just lay in a chair all day and be in a different world. So I'm excited about that.
I do that.
There's Grandpa Ains.
That's me.
Yeah. There's Grandpa Ains. Don't touch him. He's
you're gonna be like the grandpa from Star Wars Holiday Special with his helmet on.
What
Star Wars Holiday Special?
That is
you don't
reach.
You don't remember that? Yeah,
I have to say I don't remember that. Travis.
Well, okay, yeah. So Chewbacca's grandpa or his dad. Yeah, the old Wookiee. He gets as a gift a virtual reality headset, and he puts it on, and he's just sitting there like going, because that entire special is insane. And then the thing he does in VR is he watches like a famous singer, like basically do like ASMR porn to him. And so like he's sitting in the living room, basically like watching porn with
We're
like
still on the Star Wars holiday special.
Yes. This happens in the holiday special. It's unbelievable, guys. You know,
I remember B. Arthur. I remember Boba Fett cartoon.
Boba Fett cartoon is the only good part of that special, and then the rest of it is like really perplexing ideas. Watching an elderly Wookiee enjoy VR pornography was not on my list of things I thought I would see in that.
And
but
yet you shared it with us.
I know, and now I'm downloading something I didn't expect I'd be watching.
There you go. Yeah, time to.
What is happening?
You guys haven't seen the Star Wars holiday special. That's a classic.
I haven't seen it for years.
Yeah, I mean,
a long. It was like banned
ago.
when I was a kid. I mean, I don't think you could see it anywhere.
Yeah, you had to get VHSs. I had a VHS that was a copy of a copy of a copy when I was really young. That's my tradition, by the way. I don't do anything during the holidays, and I'm usually alone. So I watch the Star Wars holiday special. That's my Christmas or whatever.
I'm sorry, Travis.
It's great.
That's really weird.
Yeah, it's like a slap in the face, but through film. You know what I mean?
Wakes you up watching a
Wookiee. Wakes you up, realize it's not all so bad in my life. I wasn't involved in making this.
You guys think we get you think we get the new Switch next year?
No.
I mean, I've said yes for like 3 years, so why change now?
Me too, actually. Yeah, I'm with Oak. Yeah,
I'm gonna say no.
I have no idea.
I know. No, none of us do. That's the point.
Yeah,
don't go Travis on me now.
I'll just say yes.
Okay.
What's wrong with you people? God, you guys are just every year. This is the year Dad's gonna come home with the milk. You know what I mean? Like, just give up, dude.
You think I would have learned my lesson?
Now wait a minute, Travis. You have to admit that the Switch does appear to be running out of runway on both game release announcements and overall uptake in the market.
I will admit that if you ever get drafted to the NBA, Father will finally come home.
Nice.
All right, that's the only circumstance in which you're going to see that man ever again. So good, enjoy. No, I mean it's going to come eventually, but I don't think we're as close as other people are, because if you look at the Switch's year, why would you think that they need a new Switch? Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
okay.
I'm at.
A year's a long time.
Yeah,
true.
Do you think we get the PS5 Pro?
I think both of those things happen in 2025. And I think maybe the PS5 Pro is a tie-in with GTA 6 and what that game is going to need. But we have some ambitious games coming out in 2025. I think that's the year for both of those consoles.
Okay. Oh,
that might be the first PlayStation I don't get if it's released in 24 or 25. I don't know.
Okay. Interesting. Dan?
Yeah, I'm going to say holidays.
Next holiday?
Yeah, next holiday.
Sure. Yeah, I am too. We get the PS5 Pro next year.
Yeah, maybe November. I think I released something with it though, or
Yeah, that's my
when The Last of Us 2 remastered remake
with no content plan for it.
No. Last of Us 2 remaster is February. Last of Us 2 remaster remake is November.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Are those both really happening?
No, he's making up the remaster.
I'm not even going to say no. I'm not going to say no. Maybe.
No, I think. Yeah, I mean, they maybe they learned from the PSVR 2 that you should have some content before you launch your console. I don't know.
PSVR 2. I mean, again, I think we've had that conversation. Kind of unique content, right? Games continue to release for it, but it's content you can get elsewhere.
Yeah, it's Quest cast-offs for the most part. I mean, I still like it, but
yeah,
that's what it is.
Too. All right, let's catch up on these super chats. Burf.
Sure. Burf 90. Like that name. The $10 super chat. Why do developers waste so much time on remasters of old games? Do most players really buy a game again just because the new version is prettier? Or am I missing something else in the remasters?
I would
say, I think you're skipping a base with your assumption that everybody already owns something like The Last of Us Part 2, right? So a lot of people own it, but not everybody. And certainly the HBO series has broken into what Sony has to be considering a new market of potential purchasers. So that's a new product for them, and people who may not know video gaming that well or just not understand how long ago it came out don't want to necessarily buy a 4-year-old game, and so are told, hey, before season 2, buy part 2 remaster. This is all up to speed with whatever the current gen is. Yeah. Does that work ultimately? I don't know. I mean, I think Last of Us Part 1 remaster made some money.
Yeah, I would say even if it's I think the main driving factor is, yes, Hoag's correct that there's a lot of people who haven't played those games, but also it just takes a lot less resources and time and money to remaster something you've already made, and so it's an easier way than making a completely new game that requires years and tons of investment to create, to just up-res something you've already made and sell it again. So why wouldn't you?
I think the market itself answers this question, right? The answer has to be yes, because we continue to get them. So they're not making those if they're not making money. It's just the nature of the market. So it is kind of crazy, I think, at a time, but it's obviously working. So I don't think we're going to see those slow down anytime soon, to be honest with you. Burf,
like Resident Evil 4 remake, right? Like, it's not really a remaster, but it's
Game of the Year.
Game of the Year, right? I mean, it's or at least nominated for it. So if you're gonna do it, people want it, and if you do it with like the right games, I think it's fine. I think if there's a I'm sure these companies go in and like, is there a need or is there a want from the community for these kind of games like Parasite Eve, please? Somebody, I don't care who it is.
I feel like Dan and I have been asking for that since we started this show.
It's like the one remake, because I'm usually on this bandwagon. Like, come on, man, we
That's
don't
right.
need
the Bitcast, where Anthem and Parasite Eve love lives.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that is exclusive to Seasoned Gaming, I guess.
Hey, listen, I'm just trying. I don't
going up the charts, remakes. Boys.
I feel like companies, I'd rather see them go forward and push the envelope and try new stuff instead of going back and doing these things. And I feel like it almost is, kind of a waste, but it's also going to make money. And it's like Travis said, it's really easy to do. It's a good way to maybe supplement other projects that you have coming up, with just the money that, you can make on adding a new mode and, up-res and everything. So, it makes sense. I'm going to pay for the $10 or whatever it is to upgrade the new thing, because it's not that much.
There you go. And $10 isn't much for the individual player, but that can add up.
Sure.
For even the base that already has Last of Us.
Yeah. By the way, Anthem is love. Remember that.
I mean, look, enjoy your Anthem memories. I'm glad you have them. I'm glad you have this positive, warm feeling towards that game. I think, unfortunately, its existence is part of the reason why we don't hear about BioWare games super often. But hey,
I agree.
I agree.
Let's
talk about studios doing things they didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and doing them. Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. We've talked about that enough. Sid,
another 100 rupees. Thank you. For some end of year fun, what is the one title release this year that you'd reschedule in hindsight? Personally, Jedi Survivor for obvious reasons.
That's a good
Spider-Man 2.
But you would reschedule that to like never. So
I think it needs a rework. I mean, here's the thing, right? 2023. One of the things I loved the most about this year is that nothing disappointed, right? Final Fantasy 16 surprised me with how much I liked it. Diablo 4 surprised me with how much I liked it. The only exception to that for my year, and I was in a very positive frame of mind when it came out, was Spider-Man 2. So I would move it out of 2023 and keep the year unblemished.
That's harsh.
Keep Jesus. God damn,
unblemished. Spider-Man 2 is so weird.
Dude. He just eugenics to the 2023. This is crazy, dog.
The best part of this is the super chat starts with for some end of the year fun.
Yeah,
it's like Spider-Man ruined 2023.
The end of the year is fun. We need to get these parasites among us out of our.
Oh man,
I wish I liked it. I really like the first 2 Spider-Man games.
Jeez, dog.
I was taking this a little differently, like. Because if I answer it like you, Hoag, my answer would actually be Starfield, as I've said before, for them to kind of rethink some of that design. But I think I was taking this question as just moving it because maybe it came out at a time you didn't really have time to play. You know what I mean? Just pure release date move. But I don't know what that would be for me.
That would
honestly.
be your Starfield would be mine. I mean, literally, if they moved it to like December, would have been perfect for me because that's when I started playing it.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. So yeah, I mean, because that's right when Baldur's Gate released for the PS5. That was also Cyberpunk territory, you know. So it kind of hit right there for me, and I feel like Starfield's the game that should be given its, you know, proper due. You know, you got to really have the time to put into that stuff, and that's the only reason I pushed it back so far.
Actually, I'll go Starfield too because you reminded me that the reason I stopped playing Starfield was not out of disappointment, was that I had to review Phantom Liberty.
Yeah.
So, and then by time I got back into Cyberpunk 2.0 and Phantom Liberty, and you know, it just, you kind of move on from the mentality of the game you were in. So yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, yeah, aside from Avatar, I mean, really, you didn't have a whole lot of big hitters, you know, this month. So I mean, it would have been a perfect kind of end of the year game, I think, for a lot of people. But yeah.
Got one, Travis?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, I would probably do it for the reason of game got overlooked because it came out when it came out. And I feel like there were a lot of games like that this year. So it's hard to pick just one that I feel like a lot of people didn't play. But I know I talk about Remnant 2 a lot. That's probably one that maybe didn't come out at the best possible time. There's got to be others. But yeah, I feel like a lot of games meet this criteria this year.
If I was looking for a game like that, I would move Immortals out. I really
like that's Immortals. A good one. That's a good one.
It's a good one. Yeah, that game got crushed. I can't even remember what it came alongside. Or just to be petty, I'd move Baldur's Gate 3 back to its original release date. Because remember, they came out early because of Starfield, and I don't think that ended up being necessary. Although it is funny. It is funny to think that how many people cleared the playing field for that one.
Yeah. Thank you, Sid. Shout out to Katie. Member comments says, I agree with Hogue. Diablo 4 is fun, not perfect.
9 out of 10 IGN. Stand by that. I don't care what anybody thinks.
Me too.
That game's awesome.
I love Diablo 4. I would not tell anybody that I think it's perfect.
Yeah. And then let's get to some of these end of holiday messages here.
All right, Burf again. It's the best name. $10. I probably won't make it next week. Neither will we. Yeah, if you're streaming, missed the beginning of the stream, so I don't know. So I hope all of you and your viewers have a great holidays. Hoping 2024 is even better for gaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Positive vibes.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Yeah. Positive vibes. Don't get your hopes up.
Next year, I don't have a ton. I think 2025 might be great, but next year, I don't know. We'll see.
Nah. It's gonna be good. Burf, thank you very much for the super chats. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the kind message. Appreciate you. We got a few of these member comments in the same vein as well. So
yeah, Midnight Drury, member for 13 months. Wishing everyone the happiest of holidays. Thank you. Midnight.
Thank you, always appreciate you,
Christy. Happy holidays, everyone. To you also, Christy. Thank you very much.
Yep. I like the black
Appreciate
cat
you
pick, by the way, too.
That was 2 in a row. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Cats ever.
Happy holidays, everyone. Be safe and enjoy.
Yes. Oh,
absolutely.
We just got a fresh one popping in.
Fresh one. Mantha Johnny. Happy holidays, all. Is that another cat? What's with all these
we
cats?
got lots of cat. We got
people dig cats.
Man,
oh my gosh. All right. Thank you all so much. Guys, before we say our holiday messages here, anything you want to any other topic on gaming 2023, 2024 you want to mention?
No, man. I thank you guys for letting me hang out with you every day or week whenever I show up. So it's been awesome.
Every day.
I'm glad I'm glad. Well, I'm every Sunday.
These are fun conversations.
Yeah, these are always good. They're I'm glad that the 4 of us get to do this, and every week. It's been an awesome year. I'm excited. What number are we on? 277.
277. We
we're
have
gonna hit
300 next year.
Just so you guys know,
crazy.
Every long running podcast I've been on, I joined the show later, and then we reach episode 300, and then the show gets canceled forever.
It
So
might be a good
prepare
time.
for that to be our last show.
Yeah, we'll
I
just
already
plan on it from
have
here.
it planned. Yeah.
And these are shows with major followings too. Fire Team Chat, dude. I joined that show and then we got to 300 and they were like, we can't take Travis, and they just canceled the whole show. That was the most listened to podcast at IGN.
I don't know. You've been here for a while now. Well, you know, we've got.
Yeah, but you can see the they've had enough of me. Look at the comments. They're over it.
Yeah.
They're ready.
Yeah, thank you guys, and thank you to everybody that tunes in. You know, I'm a very low profile guy. I don't really like throw stuff out there so much. So yeah, I'm not a big like I don't like to throw all my info out there on the interwebs. So I mean, it's nice to have a small group of people, but it grew so much. It was kind of it was kind of nerve wracking. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It was usually we used to be like, hey, there's like 10 people watching. This is crazy, right? You remember that? And now it's well over hundreds and I would never thought we would be where we're at, and this is probably good enough. So please don't tell anybody else about this amazing show.
That's not the official.
I think we've hit my limit. Yeah.
That is not the official word of Bitcast.
Just for me. This is it. I'm at my limit.
No, it's I'll say my piece. So I said this a couple weeks ago as I kind of looked at the data for 2023 and as we're closing out the year, it is pretty crazy to Dan's point. Like now, I think I said 2 weeks ago, we were over 300,000 combined views and listens on both channels and audio listens for the year. So we're obviously whatever we're at now, 320-ish. And it's kind of wild to think about because to Dan's point way back, 6 years ago now, which is crazy to think when we were early on in the show. I mean, like most podcasts, there were 10 people watching, you know what I mean? So it is nuts how this show has grown and the community has been amazing. It's great to have to help Hogue out. I know, obviously, Hogue, it's been a very tough year for you. And I was very happy that we could start this co-broadcasting thing. And I think like the community, the four of us and the community have kind of really kind of gelled and melded together really well. And it's become, honestly, I look forward to this every week. I really do, because I love chatting games with you guys. We have a lot of fun. Community's fantastic. We don't get any of the nonsense here. And it's a joy. So thank you all. The support's crazy too. Like you guys are amazing in terms of how you support both channels and the show and show up and, tied with the picks and, shout out to Squirrel, by the way. It's a shame that we lost her.
Much missed.
Yeah. Severely missed. And, it's community. So I could ramble on about this. I won't, I promise. But fantastic community. So thank you all so much. And I'm really looking forward to next year. And a couple weeks off will be good. I'm going to miss talking to you guys, but it's a busy time in my career work and busy time in general. And it's going to be nice to just take a break and not think about it for a couple weeks and just veg out with some games on the side. Probably way too many shooters. But I'm looking forward to coming back next year and having another great year. So.
Yeah,
should be fun.
And it's been a wild year for me, certainly. I have way too many people to thank about all this, but I have told you guys this story. I still remember I was in my hospital bed. I was on too many drugs to even remember most of the day. Awesome. And I got to see you guys do a Bitcast with me in the hospital and Travis making fun of me, and all felt normal, right? All felt right in the world in a way that it hadn't been in the very alternative universe of being essentially trapped in a hospital, right? And I love my hospitals, but they're a little bit like prisons, right? There was an alarm if I shifted on my bed too much. So, I mean, like seeing Travis make fun of my brain from from an iPad was the sense of normalcy I needed. So thank you, Bitcast. Thank you, everybody that supports us here. Thank you, all the people that saved my life. 2023 is a year like no other for me. And I am so happy to be here and be able to have these conversations with all of you.
Yeah, let's not start the year off that way again, please.
Yeah.
No, I mean, one of the things is my anniversary.
The next couple weeks.
My anniversary is in 2 weeks, right? And like, that's all of my doctors are like, that's going to be a big day for you. And I was like, okay, let's hope that that's all right.
No, you didn't. I mean, it was awesome to see you.
It's wild
journey, honestly. Man. It's crazy.
It's wild. Go back and watch the first Bitcast, which is a great moment, by the way, when you surprised us that day and showed up randomly after, kind of beginning your recovery. But go back and watch even that 6 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever episode that was.
Yeah, I think it's is it February or March? Yeah, it's one of those.
March, I think. Yeah. It's wild to see your transformation from then to now, man. I mean, it really is. So it's
awesome.
Yeah, I was happy to do it. I still remember telling my wife, I think I'm going to join them. And she's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, they're on. I think I'm going to pop in."
It was super fun because, like I said, so if you don't know how this works, admins can see the behind the stage basically. So I saw Hogue pop in, Dan and Travis didn't. And so that's why you can see my reaction immediately, like what's going on. And then, you know, it was just a great moment. In fact, I think I have it clipped out, obviously, somewhere. I'm going to put it up as a short on the channel just to kind of save it for all time, if you will, because it was great. So,
well, I'm super appreciative of you guys and all the help that so many people have put forth to me and my family this year. I can't even tell you how much was made possible by all of your well wishes and good feelings and support and memberships and shared memberships and everything else you've done for so long. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
Great. Well, I'd hate to follow that.
Yeah, that's unfair.
Yeah,
sorry, Travis.
I feel like we should have saved Hogue for last because I'm like, man, I don't know.
Round this out, Travis.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, what a good year for me. I did 26 reviews. No, but I think, look, I think it was a great year for the games industry, partially because it was a great year for us. Like we were part of that, you know, a small part, but we were part of the reason that 2023 was so memorable, whether it was Hogue going through something that was terrible, but ultimately I think helped my perspective, Hogue, and I don't want to speak for you, but helped him realign some of the priorities in his life and gain perspective and also help a cause for people that or might go through the same thing that he went through. So, you know, if everything happens for a reason, if you live your life by that philosophy, I think Hogue made a really positive impact in an area that needs impact. So did the rest of us, right? Like, I think the Bitcast served a really great purpose. I guess my contribution to that would be, you know, showing that sometimes a joke in a dark moment can be a good thing. That's certainly how I live my life. And I hope to be doing more of that. How I plan on spending the break, catching up on games. I'm done with all my reviews for the year, so I'm just gonna play just for the love of the game. I'm probably gonna do some comedy. I've got some time, just go do some shows. And this is a quieter time of year for me. So, you know, riding and hanging out and just recharging for the battle that is ahead in 2024.
Wow, why would you talk about D and your marriage that way?
I know I am getting married next year. I guess that's kind of a big deal for me. So
it seems like a good milestone.
We'll see how that turns out. I think she's pretty over me, but we'll, you know, she's still going through with it. I don't know what's up with that.
Is she on episode 300 yet? Because
yeah, no, I think episode 300 she's gonna be tapping out on that one for sure. So
there's still time to get out. There's still time to get out.
Yeah, there is for sure. Yeah, no, I got her trapped, dude. Yeah, she can't. She has nowhere to go. Can't escape. No, she's great in all seriousness. Yeah. So good year. Ains, I'm excited for our cooking thing.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Stuff I've got coming up. I'm playing Sea of Thieves, or not Sea of Thieves, Skull and Bones right now. So I got a preview of that next week.
I saw that's out.
Yeah, I'm playing.
Saying it's a real game.
It is a real game. I'm playing it right now. I played 6 hours.
I have seen some people talk about it pretty positively.
Yeah. I think it's all right. Yeah, it's not bad so far. So far, so good. But yeah, that's the only other thing I'm working on this year. And then my first review next year is Pal World, which is the Pokemon gun game.
Pokemon with guns.
I'm very excited to see if that's good. I have no idea, but it just looks absolutely insane. So look, next year's already looking like it's going to be very fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so with that, I want to call out Shoosh. Shoosh is always around, always supporting, always making us laugh. So gifted 5 memberships over at Hogue Law. Thank you, Shoosh. You're awesome.
Awesome.
And a couple more member holiday comments as well.
Yeah, from Aaron. Happy Christmas to all. Thank you so much.
Happy Christmas.
Hey, we got doodles. Those are doodles. I've got 2 doodles. I know doodles.
Oh,
So-
in the picture, I didn't know
In the
what you were
picture,
talking about. I'm like,
yeah.
what do you mean we have
Sometimes
doodles?
I don't know.
You got doodles.
Yeah.
At least one doodle. Can't tell.
By the
one
way,
of that. Maybe 3.
only because some Americans don't know this, but yes, in Europe, like in England, you say Happy Christmas, not Merry Christmas. So
I've seen Harry Potter.
I mean, some people don't
Oh,
know.
really?
You know,
I don't know. I
See?
didn't know that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gracefully insane.
How about Merry Yuletide greetings to all? Where's that
There
from?
you go. Let's do that too. Let's do
Yeah.
it too.
That Dutch, like Pennsylvania Dutch. No,
Pennsylvania Dutch.
I don't know what that is.
Oh man. Well,
Thank
with
you,
that,
Graceful Insane.
yes, thank you. With that, I think we will go ahead and close 2023 out, boys. It has been a joy, as we've already just all said. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. It's always fun. Just as a reminder, as we close here, we will be off a couple weeks. We are back January 7th. So that Sunday we'll be back. That will also be our questions episode for the panel. We should have a lot of fun with it coming back to kick off 2024. If you want to leave a question for us, question any type, leave a comment, join the Season Gaming Discord, which is in the description, or DM me, last resort, please. But just go ahead and find a way to do that. Like I said, we've got some good ones already. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it, so please feel free to jump in on that. Stay tuned for Travis's and I cook off. That's the week of Christmas, so the week of the 25th we should be posting that video. Should be a lot of fun. We'll see what happens.
Are you churning butter? What was that?
I don't know what that was. Macaroni in a pot. I don't know what we got going on.
Fair. It'll have some weird name, but it'll just be macaroni, Diablo world. Other than that, I am good to go. Guys, anything else you would like to shout out? Hogue, I'll pass to you because you had Lawyers and Dragons yesterday. So
I did have Lawyers and Dragons, and it's so nice to have so many wonderful people to engage with on such a regular basis. So if you're interested in seeing lawyers act super goofy, do check out the tape of that video because we were at maximum goofy levels yesterday. And I think it was a great deal of fun. And I think it will be a regular feature on our channel. A regular feature on our channel. I just wanted the right word. The words come maybe sometimes a little slower.
Cool. Very cool.
But no, I'm super happy about it. And yeah, I'm super happy about getting back to a schedule of content on my channel. It's been a long time coming for me personally. And I know folks are always very gracious with me and resting. And I've been doing a better job of that this year. But I really want to get back to doing a lot more of what I really love to do. And so it's nice to have that back on the channel. And it's nice to see people responding to that back on the channel. So come visit us. We love to have you. And I'm looking forward to season Bitcast in 2024. Hopefully with a little less drama early in the year.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It'd be hard to have more.
Right. Yeah. Thanks. Shout out to Katendra on the Hogue channel. They said that Bitcast 238 is the episode where Hogue first reappears. So you can go find that and check it out. I think
Sasquatch.
The episode is
Wild Hogue sighting.
Wild Hogue sighting.
Yeah. Dude, he would
Travis.
be a pretty good blur.
Pretty good blur.
Yeah. Hogue out of focus. I could see it.
Hogue, how's Gingerbread Man doing? I think, is he nearby?
I don't have him in the room with me. So Gingy's back hitting me in the face in my bed.
Gingy?
Gingerbread Man.
Yeah, you're right, guys. He's not terrifying. You're right. The guy who stays in Hogue's bed and beats him up and has no face. I'm the weird one. It's totally normal.
I'll say this: Travis makes me laugh every week. So,
Travis, shout it out, man.
Yeah, I got Skull and Bones. I thought we already did that, but yeah, Skull and Bones preview this week. Please watch my Asgard's Wrath 2 review. If you own a MetaQuest 2 or MetaQuest 3, get that game. If you don't have that game and you own a MetaQuest 2, send me a DM because I might be able to help you out. Yeah, that's what I got going on, and then I'm just chilling for the rest of the year. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I also reviewed Resident Evil 4 remake VR mode. Which I gave an 8 out of 10. It's basically it is Resident Evil remake, so it's great. But the fact that it is a third person game in first person. Whenever you do something like a roundhouse kick, it puts you back in third person and then puts you back in Leon's head, is a little jarring and weird, and makes it very clear this game was not designed for VR, and so that has some weirdness to it. But yeah, you can watch that as well. That went live on Friday.
I'm sorry, Gingy has walked in.
Oh no,
Gingy.
Oh god.
We got face yet? No.
Oh
Gingy.
god, why? Why?
It is BT, man. It looks just like him.
I think Elu said last week, why does that football have a body?
I hate it. The fact that it's on his lap too, it just makes it worse. It makes it worse. I don't like it.
This is the kind of content you can only get here.
Well, this is the Bitcast. Thank you for everything.
God.
Oh, that's good stuff. All right, we're seriously out of here. We're going to go enjoy the holidays. I hope all of you do as well. Whatever you're up to, take some time off. Hopefully get some rest. Play some great games. And we will see you in a couple weeks. Thank you for everything you do for us. Until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays in all forms, and Happy New Year to you. We will see you in a few weeks. Until then.
Ham still sucks.